Hello, everyone, and welcome to this radcast of the Solution Club at the beginning of the new world. And for the first time ever, we are live streaming the Solution Club on Twitch. So feel free to check us out there. I posted the link in the chat. It's twitch.tv/Radish Live. That's easy to remember. All right. Anyway, so we've just been catching up here the last several minutes, and I'd love that we just kind of kick it around. We've noticed that things are accelerating so much, but anyway, I'm going to go on mute and let y'all say good morning and share whatever thoughts, ideas you have, and then I'm happy to. Anyway, let's just make it a conversation. Going on mute.
Well, good morning, Zemri. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Jamen. Good morning, everyone who's viewing. And it's all about life. As you could see, you know, we're here to save life and have the conversation on how we're going to do that. And we're welcoming everyone to help us accomplish that. Jackie.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever everyone is. Good evening. Emery, thank you for saying that. That's what we're here to do. You know, I used to think that we were here trying to invite people to see our vision, invite people to walk alongside of us, but I think it's more than that. This is not just an invitation anymore. This is like, we need you. We need you to join us. We need you to hear our hearts. We need you to open up and be really present and be aware of what's going on. There's so much that is happening, and this is our opportunity to stand in our truth and our sovereignty and truly be the human beings that we are. So anyone that can hear us, what we're asking to do is to gift your neurodiversity, gift to this effort, yourself, your talents, your gifts, your skills. Join us. We don't have a lot of time, and we're not trying to elicit despair. We're not trying to make anyone afraid. We're trying to make you awake so you can understand what's really going on, and that we need each other. We need to come together, and we need to not think about the coulds and the shoulds. Your heart knows what's right, and your heart knows what you have to do. So just listen, follow your intuition, and join us. We have a lot of work to do, but we can do this, and we're doing it already. We're doing it already, and we want your help. You know, everyone has something to contribute, and we can all do this. And this is the reason why our mother created us so differently, because we need all of our differences to come together and make this beautiful, beautiful whole, so that we can invite this world of normalized nonviolence and radical inclusion and save our mother and save us in the process.
Right on, Jackie. Right on. Right on. We need everyone to participate and share your knowledge and your abilities to, you know, to help with the effort. It's a big effort. It's a worldwide effort, and everyone can be involved. You have to start sometime, and now's the time. Jamen.
Thanks, Emery. Thank you, Jackie. Beautiful. And welcome, Uncle Frank. If you can hear us, looks like Uncle Frank's getting connected there. Anyway, we are recording, and we're also live streaming on Twitch. You know, today as I thought about our predicament, the challenges, and the opportunity to come together and do this, you know, I was holding just the obvious question. Hey, Emery, we're getting a little feedback from you there, bro. The obvious question came to me: why the heck aren't we doing this already? What's holding us back, right? Isn't that kind of this obvious elephant in the room question? And I'd like to look at that from a couple of angles. One is that, well, we haven't had Zoom before, and now that we got Zoom, we're all connecting with each other in these totally new ways, and it's kind of like we now have that after-school safe secret treehouse inside the secret garden with our best friends who we dreamed about all of our lives of having, right? And at some point we kind of gave up on that dream because, it got beaten into us that it's all about money and hoarding and this and that. And, but anyway, now we've got it. We've got the magic treehouse, and all people all around the world are discovering their own respective sort of magic treehouses and this magic of connection. And, of course, our vision is connecting all the treehouses together to kind of create this network of conversations, this social network of awesome communities. SNAC, SNAC, which I really want to get rolling, by the way. But we'll get more into that implementation question in a little bit. But anyway, remember I said two perspectives as to why is it that it's like so clear now, that whereas it wasn't quite that clear before. When we were all on the treadmill, right? You look to your right, there's another hamster on a parallel treadmill, and maybe he's gaining on you. You look to your left, and someone just fell off the treadmill and broke their neck on the concrete, and that's too bad, but I got to keep going. Whoa, right? So, but now that it's like this big pause, and we're all like reaching out and connecting with the other imaginal selves in our community. See, there's different communities all around the world that are waking up in different levels, right? I'm sure there's a community of NASCAR drivers who are just like coming together and saying, you know what? Shoot, I think maybe we should stop running over frogs when we can avoid it. Yeah, I think so. Let's keep voting Republican. Let's keep eating meat. All those things are fine. Everything's fine. But let's stop running over frogs. Okay, that's a little incremental step, but anyway, that's just, sometimes I exaggerate and make these cartoon like little mini stories to make a point. My point there, of course, is that every community is where they're at, right? And that's part of the logic of the social network of awesome communities, is that we acknowledge that. And we, I used to kind of be of the mindset of, well, let's just get everyone together, right? Anyway, but now it's more like, let's get the communities together, because people at the end of the day, they're still going to go back to their respective communities. That's where they feel comfortable. And there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with community. And, we can dream of a global community, but I think at a minimum, a stepping stone to get there is to bring the communities together, right? At the level of their representatives and, or their leadership or whatever, for starters, right? Let's say there's 500 communities with an average of 100 members each. That's 50,000 people. It's hard to imagine getting all 50,000 into one big Zoom room, but 500 leaders of the 500 communities, that's imaginable, right? Might be a little bit to manage, and maybe we break it down into 10 groups of 50 to each focus on a different part or whatever. Anyway, this is all collective intelligence stuff, and we've talked about it a fair amount, so I won't belabor it. But just to say that stuff is possible now that wasn't possible before. So that's one aspect that's one part of my answer. The other part, remember I promised two parts. The other part is that as human beings, we have not yet embraced two big things, right? One is the big we of all of us humans together as one big family, right? Philosophers and science fiction writers have imagined it, but have we gotten there? Come on. There's wars all over the place, famine. We are so separate, right? We hate our neighbors, you know. It's just like, it's terrible. But it's not our fault. We were born into this game. We were born into the wrong game, right? You know, just like a computer that's been infected with a virus, right? You don't smash the computer with a sledgehammer. You run some antivirus software and you just do a precision extraction, like a precision surgery, and extract the bad virus, do a fresh install of Linux or whatever, and you're good to go. It's a good computer. It's not a bad computer. It's just bad software. We're not bad people. We've just had bad software beaten into us, socialized into us, brutally socialized into us. This is the way the game works, right? I remember once when I was a kid, I took a dollar bill and I tore it up. I was just so angry with this concept of money. What the hell is this, right? And my grandmother made me tape it back together, and then she would pull it out and wave it around, even if there were guests in the house, you know, to shame me for having torn up money, right? And that was how I was taught to respect money, or whatever the hell, you know. Anyway, so it's been beaten into us, and just in terms of the ridiculousness of it. So think about, you know, Brooklyn Eats and Operation Stone Soup and what we're going to do in Brooklyn, what we're going to do in Brooklyn. It's not an if, it's a when, okay? Now imagine trying to do the same exact thing, feed everyone and all that, but before you can actually put a box of food on someone's doorstep, they need to hand you a certain amount of tokens. All right, and what about the people that don't have those tokens? Well, get your ass out there and get some tokens, boy. You want to eat? Get some tokens. Okay, well, there aren't exactly a lot of job listings out there. In fact, to the contrary, people are getting laid off left, right, and center and shuttering their businesses. How am I supposed to get a job and do this legally? Okay, that's not possible. What's left? Illegal. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Our work is hard enough as it is without tokens. Let's not introduce some crazy game that defeats the whole purpose. Purpose is let people stay home so we can defeat this virus, right? And boost their immune systems while they're at it, and just get healthy while they're at it, and get connected while they're at it. Anyway, I'm belaboring the point. It's like, now that we've painted the picture with our words so many times, it's just like such an obvious thing, right? You know, like when you're coming out of a dream and you're not quite awake yet, right? And you're just in such a deep sleep. And imagine it's like, okay, I'm coming to, whoa, something's burning on the stove and the smoke alarm's going off. I run and I put it out. I turn off the stove, put the smoking, flaming pot outside, let it chill out, open up the windows, turn on the fans, you know, and I know what to do. But until I've woken up, right, it's like, is that coming from my dream? Oh, that must be coming from this part of my dream. You know, you start to incorporate the alarm clock into your dream so you can keep sleeping, right? So we've been incorporating all these warning signals into the old dream that it's all about money and domination and monopoly and coming out on top and fighting your way to the top and clobbering whoever the hell you need to clobber on the way. People, animals, trees. Cut down those trees to build that big McMansion. Jamen Shively has arrived, right? And let's have a barbecue to celebrate, you know, that sort of thing. So I appreciate you're all letting me roll here. It's helping me to get this stuff out. But the bottom line is that we have not embraced two things. We have not embraced the whole of the big we, right? All of us together as a unit. And we have not embraced the whole of the big everything of Mother Earth as a whole, right? We've not embraced that. But what's interesting is now with these video conferences, now that we're able to, it's like we're discovering that we don't just have to hang out with the people who are in a 30-mile radius like we used to. Isn't that amazing? That used to be our life, hanging out with people within a 30-mile radius. You know, yeah, once a month, you know, you drive a couple hours and you see Auntie Flo over the hills there and you hang out, whatever. Okay, great. But day in, day out, it's the same old crowd. What we're realizing now is that, oh my goodness, I'm so much more connected to Jackie and Emery, right? And even Uncle Frank and I are connected in new ways, right? Through this work. And good old brother James in Cork, Ireland, and his daughter Stephanie and her husband Kevin and their friends Natalie. And, you know, it's just like, whoa, you know, we're experiencing this planetary level connection like never before. Before, we were each on our own little islands and our world was our island. And yeah, we'd watch news stories about people in other places and they were other people. Now they're our best friends. Now they're in our treehouse, right? Treehouse is a good metaphor because it gets us off the ground. We're kind of in this new elevated space, right? We're kind of disconnected from the rest of the world, right? We can't even hear mom talking in the kitchen, right? That's 30 feet down and 60 feet across a lawn, and, you know, and it's like we're in our own bubble here, right? It's a planetary bubble. It's sort of like this cloud layer that encompasses the whole world. And yet it's very immature, right? People have still been playing these dominance games like we've talked about in previous meetings, right? And have been very hurtful in the process of, you know, it's like we're coming at this new world from the old game, the old paradigm. We have to shed that old paradigm. That's why the caterpillar to butterfly is really it, as far as I'm concerned. And we are the imaginal cells. So there's a little video clip I'd like to play, but I've been talking for so many minutes now. I'm first going to just mute and just create some space. And by the way, silence is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with silence. It's almost like a group meditation when we're all silent. Anyway, go on unmute.
Yeah, someday they say silence is golden. That was a saying that used to be. How golden is it? So, you know, it's hard to be silent these days. And we're trying to use the tools available to us to reach out and to get some understanding as to what we need to do. You know, even like for me, it's not 100% clear as to how it's gonna go. You know, I'm still trying to work that out for myself, how to perceive, you know, the possibilities of what we're doing and how it could affect the our needs. You know, it's trying to work that out. And Jamen, you're so precise as to, you know, the structure and everything and how we could get this thing you know, rolling. I mean, we don't have a lot of time. That's the other issue that's always burdening it burdens me to think that, you know, our time is so short. And you know,
Well,
sometimes you just, it's hard to express in words.
well, here to help us with that is my brother Melvin, who never has trouble expressing himself in words because he speaks from the heart. I also want to welcome Cedric, Melissa, welcome everyone. We're just, we're recording and we're live streaming on Twitch. And if you ever want to pause recording, just do this, no problem, happy to do it. As many times as needed. Anyway, Emery, to your point, let's use the time we have. We got time, let's use it, you know. It's really time for action. And the first action, as I see it, and I wrote about this in the email that I sent out last night, and I'm happy to go through that too. I want to play a little video first, but first I want to give everyone a chance to chime in and share. But the actions as I see it, oh yeah, go ahead and take the call, Jackie. No problem. We'll recap. We'll fill you in when you get back. But the action, as I see it, are two main actions. One is the conversation, right? Emery, you're still on unmute, and we get a little echo there. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. So one is the the conversation. What is the conversation? The conversation is how do we save life on Earth? And having that conversation as a whole, looking at the whole of Mother Earth. And that's, remember I said there's two things that we're not used to, that we haven't done before. One is seeing ourselves as a whole, as one people, right? We're really good at saying, okay, you're a different skin color than I am, and you've got a different, culture and a different this and a different that. You talk different, everything different. And traditionally there's been hatred between our peoples. Well, let's add some gas to that fire. We're really good at adding gas to the fire, right? We've not been so good at putting that fire out, right? So we're not used to talking and looking at all of humanity as a whole. But now as we're getting more and more connected and more of the truth is coming out, and yeah, a lot more lies are coming out as well. But as we get more and more connected, it becomes more and more obvious that we are all crowded on this one tiny spaceship, right? And as we say out in the country, if Jamen farts, everybody smells it. Pardon my metaphors. You can take a boy out of the country, but you never take the country out of the boy. So, we're all in this together, but we're only now just like learning how to do that, how to be one people, right? And amazingly, this medium is getting us all connected, right? I've never talked with so many Canadians in my life, right? And now I'm just like surrounded by Canadians, right? I wake up in a cold sweat at 4 a.m. looking for Canadians, right? Reaching for my gun. Just kidding. I've never been surrounded by so many Irish people in my life, right? It's not Groundhog Day, it's St. Patrick's Day every day for me. Anyway. So it's just such a beautiful thing. We're all just getting hyper connected. I'm going to look for that video, but first I'm just going to go on mute and just let whoever wants to share just jump in and share. I'll be looking for a video here and listening in the meantime.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about this. You speaking to us being connected. The reality is that we have always been connected. And one of the things that I'm learning about indigenous cultures is that they always spoke of the connectivity between humans and the environment and animals. It's just that when the industrial period came in, the industrialization of life and the along with industrialization of life was the commodification and the objectification of life, the practice of, in the belief system of feeling a connectivity to one another in the earth was put aside or lost or suppressed. So we have always been this sense of connectivity. And I like what you said, long as we have this sense of separateness, we're going to be fighting one another, and we will dress it up because you're a Baptist, I'm a Protestant, you tall, I'm short, you black, and we will dress it up in all type of ideologies, but it's about separation. And it's not about recognizing that as part of an interplanetary ecosystem, our well-being as humans is interconnected with the well-being of all life on Earth, the health of this Earth and all life on this Earth.
Amen, brother.
Hello. Who gave me that amen?
That was Melissa.
Ashe. Ashe, Melissa. Ashe.
I
Thank you.
love what you just said, Melvin. You are so spot on, man. That is so spot on.
You know, I'm involved in a project. I'm doing some volunteer work right now, and it's just awesome. And it's of gardening. There's this organization called Spaces of Opportunity in South Phoenix, and their mission is to encourage low-income communities to start growing their own food, to become more self-sufficient, to eat healthy food. So they have this land that you could go out and rent some space. You could rent 50 feet of a row that's 50 feet long for $5 a month. And there's a lot of people out there, and it's like the United Nations. It's so exciting where people are growing their own food. You have just a lot of families, it's families and individuals. Like I said, it's like the United Nations. There's people from Africa, from different parts of Africa, from the Congos, from the Sudan, from Ghana. They're Hispanic, first generation, second generation. They're white people, young people, college age. It's like a kid. There are people from India, Pakistan, everybody. It's like the United Nations. And what's fascinating to me is that 90% of the farmers there, 90, probably more than that, 90 are women who are tilling this land, who are farming. It is women, mostly women out there with shovels and rakes and doing back bending work, growing this food. It is really is awesome. And the vibe there, the atmosphere, the conversations that you have with people are just so healthy, because everyone has this here one thing in common, and that's that connection to the earth, to want to bring forth life from the earth, to cultivate the earth, to eat healthy. So it's a very wholesome environment. And I'm doing volunteer work there. I have my own rows, and I'm growing some watermelon, some cantaloupe. Hey, I put some honeydews down, and I put some sweet potatoes down today. I have some collard greens and some cabbage, and it's so beautiful. But I'm doing a lot of volunteer work where I'm doing the weeding for this program called Roots Arizona. And it's a lot of work keeping the weeds out of the garden. I'm the weed man. and maintaining the weeds. And so that's why I became cognizant that the majority of the farmers over here, people doing this at work, putting their hands in the dirt, are women. Very interesting.
I think you're going to find that a lot, Melvin. Women are like the backbone of the planet, you know? We're invisible, but we're there and carrying water and chopping wood and planting vegetables. And just one thing I wanted to remind us all about is that weeds, for the most part, are edible. So I'm going to look up this book for you, and my sister knows the title and the author. It's all about harvesting from just out in the fields. So like dandelions, I don't know if you know that, you can eat every part of the dandelion, just not the stalk. So I throw the flowers into pancakes. You can eat the leaves and the flowers in salad. They're very good diuretics. It's all medicine. Mother Earth is a giant medicine basket. Always, always creating and gifting to us. So I'll let you know about that, because I think when you're weeding, you know, all that's edible. They aren't just weeds, right? I think we got to shift that consciousness away from thinking they're just weeds and they're insignificant or they're bothersome, you know?
True that be. True that be. That's the story that we should tell. That is the story that we should be telling. And it's just because we have, through this process of the industrialization of farming, that mindset has been cultivated in all of their plants. And my friend who has a background in horticulture, he would tell me about the milkweed that I've been around all my life is good for pain. The milkweed, the thing we call milkweed, is good for pain. And the dandelions, like you said, one of the ladies out there today, these beautiful dandelions, she mentioned that this is you could cook with this, like you said, the flowers and all that, and they're gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. Yeah, and you know, as we evolve, or maybe not only evolve, as we really get back in touch with our nature, who we are, we will stop calling plants weeds and throwing them to the side and using them to sustain life.
Beautiful. I just want to share something, Jamin, if that's okay. I'm just kind of jumping in here, but so I just want to show you the medicine I've been collecting on Whidbey Island. These are all medicine plants. This is like my library. This is wild asparagus. This
Wow.
is for pain. These are just amazing. All this is medicine. These are plantain. It's another one that's medicine. These are all just grown by the roadside, you know.
Yeah.
Sword fern. This is another medicine here. Sword ferns, good for, I think it's stomach ache. And it's always been there. We just have to relearn, educate ourselves to knowing
True
what
that
its
be.
job is.
Hey, Fallon. Hey, Fallon, brother. Welcome back. I hope you got my email. Fallon was trying to get on earlier, but I had a waiting room enabled then. And anyway, great to see you back, Fallon, bro. How was your weekend? Dude, we're on fire here. So you're arriving at the perfect time. You're on mute, Fallon, brother. You're on mute. There you go.
The weekend wasn't as restful as I would have liked for it to be, but for good reason. Between the time that I spent with you guys and still kind of being fired up, I've been just kind of up continuously with little spurts of sleep here and there.
Wow. Wow.
Good to
Man,
see you,
well,
Doc.
Anyway,
go ahead, Emery. Yeah.
No, I was just saying hi. It's nice
hi
to see
Emery,
you.
how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Into getting into the conversation, you know, slowly but surely.
Mhm.
And, you know,
Good.
we were talking about this, the food issue here. And, you know, given that so many people are in the city, you know, getting them, getting them onto the land a little bit, it's, that would be something in the future. Now we want to keep them at home by bringing the food to their door, but you know, at some point it would be nice if we could all have a little bit of land, be able to grow. You know,
Yeah,
that would be something beautiful. Being in the
yeah.
city, it's hard.
It'd be kind of hard for certain places like Brooklyn or New York City, but these systems, for some reason, have a place. We have to find some kind of way to systemate these things, but
I like those rooftop
they have the
gardens.
consequences also.
I like those rooftop gardens that you were talking about there last time. Need a lot more of those.
Yeah. Well, you know, per Fallon's point, it's not a one size fits all, right? We got to look at it holistically. So, like, let's say I remember back when I visited. I spent some time in Shanghai back in 2006, 2007 when I was working for Microsoft. And Shanghai, you know, just mega, probably pushing 20 million people now or something like that. There were just thousands of skyscrapers and new ones going up all the time. So there was very little free space, open space. Nonetheless, wherever there was like a little triangle of land in between a couple buildings or something, somebody was growing food on that land. And I forget the exact amount, but it was on the order of like 30 to 40% of all the produce consumed in Shanghai, which is a lot. They ate a lot of produce. Something like 30%, 40% was grown inside Shanghai itself, right? Now that's just produce. That's not all the grains and everything else. Obviously, rice paddies are a whole different deal. I never saw a single rice paddy in Shanghai, right? So that has to come in from the outside. But the point is, we optimize the mix, right? As much as we can grow inside, obviously we're going to grow it inside Brooklyn, right? And we're going to max that out. But since Brooklyn is pretty built out with concrete and asphalt, and there's not a lot of soil left over, there's only so much we can do. We're going to do all we can.
There totally is. There totally is a lot of things that we can work around to solve those problems. One of the things that I've been considering for the Brooklyn DAO when we were thinking about addressing potential food chain interruptions was finding space within communities that could kind of hold in trust, like the community's growth efforts. I mean, whether that's physical space or whether that's like buildings, you know, that have that kind of capacity. And one of the things that I identified potentially was like these storage units that exist to, God forbid, something were to happen, or just even now with the economy being exactly what it is, trying to figure out like, okay, well, if nobody's really paying for these units, you know, if that's going to be compromised, maybe there might be some type of arrangement that we could have for the space, you know, where we could actually do the hydroponic growing inside like these kinds of units, or just spaces everywhere.
That would be great. That would be great, Tom. The storage
Yeah.
units are very big. Like how large are they? Are they like components that you put together? You could put together somehow.
No, what I was thinking, what I was actually thinking is when you're in Brooklyn, like literally, they have these huge buildings, like, and all over the city, these huge like buildings where people just go and store like the stuff that they don't use. And I was thinking something like that, where they have space and it's already kind of divided in a particular way. You know, it's already kind of ordered. And I was thinking like, okay, well, if their business model basically fails, they'll be looking for other adaptations of that space that could be potentially profitable. Just an idea that was rolling through my head.
It's the profit part there that's always a concern. Profit,
Yeah.
you know. If you could find a way to do that just out of goodwill,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, it would be absolutely wonderful
Yeah.
and sensible. And baby steps.
Did you say baby steps, Fallon?
Yeah, baby steps sometimes, I think.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, we are we're accelerating towards such a collision, right? That, you know, one could say, okay, let's try to do baby steps to, you know, avert this. Or one could say, you know what, we need to do something radically different, right? So it could be baby steps and a slow evolution, or it could be a very rapid holistic revolution. And when I say revolution, what I don't mean is a violent revolution, right? But I do mean a revolution, right? A revolution in thought, revolution in paradigm. You know, when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, that's a revolution, right? The whole body of the caterpillar, against its will, starts to dissolve into this gel. And then these imaginal cells, which are the rebels inside that gel, come together and orchestrate a holistic transformation, and then a butterfly comes out. So that's a revolution. Yes, so, hey, so great to see you. Myra, great to see you. Great to see everyone. So you got your hand up, go for it.
Yeah, I was thinking today about, you know, the tale of the 7 league boots. And I was also, do you know that tale, the tale of the 7 league boots? You can go huge distances. It's a fairy tale. You can go huge distances if you put yourself in these 7 league boots, so that you don't have to take the baby steps. You can take the massive boot steps. But I was also thinking about, there's this poet, and an Irish poet called Patrick Kavanagh, and he wrote this poem. I think it was called Common Sense, but there's one line in it that always stuck in my head, and basically the line goes, and I have a theory that you can, I'll say it again, and I have a theory that through a hole in reason's ceiling, you can fly to knowledge without ever going to college. And I just thought, I was stuck in this notion of struggle for everything, baby steps, struggling. I want to go beyond that, I think. I want to start thinking impossible, like, let's all be geniuses then. Why can't we be? We could just get into genius by flying through this hole in reason's ceiling, and it could be an immediate thing. Just a thought.
I love it. So, Jackie, go for it. I just wanted to mention that's what we're manifesting right here, right now, with collective intelligence, and we are blasting through the old glass ceiling that we thought was there, and coming together and really coming into our power, discovering our power. Go for it, Jackie.
You know, when So was saying that, it reminded me of what Sailesh tells us all the time about the metaphor of the elephant. You know, seemingly, you know, making its way through the forest, destruction, demolition, you know, demolishing everything in its path, just leaving seeds all over the place that it eats and devours. But that's what's going on here, and it brought us to this time of Dos Equis. You know, again, we know we're in the second grade of Aquarius. We know that there's more light, more frequency, and upgrades coming onto the planet. We know that our mother's evolving into the next dimension. We know that we're part of her and we're all evolving. But this time, it's almost this time of silence. It's a global meditation, and people don't even know that they're participating in this global meditation that's happening. And the silence is bringing a coherence that's allowing the imaginal selves that know and are aware are coming together to benefit from this time of meditation. And I think that's where the genius that So is motivated by and feels. I think that's what's happening. As we come together and we bring these neurodiversities together, we're calibrating our brains at the same time. So we're sharing our genius with one another, and we're helping each other rise in this space, you know? And that's why I feel what So feels. I feel what Jamen feels. I think what are going to be baby steps for us are going to be leaps in evolution for everyone else. So I'm not going to judge the pace at which we go, because I'm totally trusting. I'm totally trusting that as we invite and we have new people join us, the neurodiversity of the collective intelligence is just going to exponentially grow, and this is going to happen because it's already happening.
So beautiful. Wow. You know, I had a thought this morning. So you know how like we used to look at things as being possible or impossible based in the old paradigm, right? If you have the right connections, if you have enough money, if you have enough talent, whatever, you got to have all this stuff all together magically, or you ain't doing nothing, right? Two things about that. Number one, in terms of the old game, if the old game was a house of cards, and it's like, oh, you have to navigate it this way and that, and you can't just jump 7 stories at once, but you have to go one at a time. You have to, you know, whatever, there's all these rules. Right now, a big gust of wind came along, right? Like the Wizard of Oz. And all the cards are just floating and flipping and turning up in the air. Nothing is as it was, and everything is suddenly possible. And so right now, it's not at all about that old game of, oh, do you have this and have that? And do you possess this? And do you dominate that? And do you own this? And can you chop down that? Then you can do stuff, right? It's like destruction is power. Exclusivity is power. Now everything is turned on its head. Inclusivity is power. We're becoming powerful because we're connecting. And we're open to connecting with people who don't look like us, who don't talk like us, who live all over the world, right? People who we used to think we hated, right? Just speaking for humanity as a whole, I don't practice hatred, but you know, for those who did, it's like, whoa. And so given that, here's what I have to say. The best idea for how to proceed, the best idea, it could be a seed of an idea for what I call a mega strategy, right? Which we'll talk about. Brooklyn, you know, Operation Stone Soup, Brooklyn Eats, etc. This is, you know, for us, the mega strategy that we're proposing, right? But but just to kind of give a little bit of a recap of the big picture. Let's say you just landed here for the first time. Fallon, I'm going to mute you because we're getting a little bit of feedback. I'll let you mute and unmute yourself going forward. So imagine somebody just lands for the first time. It's like, whoa, what is this? Solution Club? What are y'all up to, right? I would say, look, we're fundamentally having 2 different conversations in parallel that interact with each other. One is what we call the conversation, and that's a conversation of how do we save life on Earth, right? And then out of that conversation come, and this is what I wrote about in my email last night that I sent out to everyone. And Fallon, if you're not on the email list, are you on the email list? If you're not, I'll add you. Anyway, I'll just add you. I'll make it. Anyway, sorry, sorry for the interruption. I just want to make sure everyone gets the emails, but that out of the conversation, how do we save life on Earth, come different, what I call hyper solutions. What's a hyper solution, right? It's the sum total of all the individual solutions we need to do, plus all the strategies to do it, plus the mega strategy to tie it all together, plus the story to tell humanity, et cetera, et cetera. And rather than talk about what a hyper solution is in the abstract, because, you know, it's just, that's a much harder thing to talk about. It's way easier to just say, look, here's an example of the thing. Here it is. This is what I'm talking about, right? It's like trying to describe a squirrel to somebody who's never seen a squirrel versus just showing them a squirrel, right? So here's the squirrel for us. Is the hyper solution that we've come up with and that we're super on fire about is called Operation Stone Soup, right? So says be the hyper solution, and I agree. The hyper solution is feed everyone, in a nutshell, here's what it is. Feed everyone, starting in Brooklyn, invite the world to participate in Brooklyn Eats, which is the first place we implement this. Invite the world to participate. And so you get folks like coming over from England, Emery from Canada, right? James, Stephanie, Desmond, et cetera, Kevin from Ireland, all coming in, right? So you got everyone in the world focusing on what I call the Brooklyn singularity. A singular focus on one place, Brooklyn, right? And we do it in Brooklyn, which means that we do it holistically and we make all the connections with all the farms nearby, all the sources of supply, and we feed everyone in Brooklyn. And we say there, New York, hey, New York. Hey, hi, New York. Yeah, you watching? Yeah. We just fed everyone in Brooklyn, and now we're moving on Queens, right? Who's going to stop us, right? No one's going to stop us. Everyone's going to welcome us. We're going to go borough after borough. Next thing you know, all of New York is eating and chilling out at home, right? And on Zoom video conferences, in love with life all over again. And then we just expand from there, from New York to the world. It's been done dozens of times throughout history. This will be no exception. It's as simple as that. You want to start a bonfire? What do? Light every match in your book and just throw the matches randomly all over the bonfire and hope the whole thing ignites? No, you start on the driest corner, one corner of the pyramid, and you get that one corner lit. That's the singularity, right? And the moment that the match strikes the flint and starts the fire is the moment of the press conference in Brooklyn where we launch all this. That last mini tirade of 3 or 4 minutes, that is Operation Stone Soup. Feed everyone, starting in Brooklyn. In the process, go collectively super intelligent as we build out this planetary network of conversations, initially concentrated around Brooklyn. And then, of course, our focus expands and expands from there as we go throughout the boroughs and the rest of the world. So feed everyone, starting in Brooklyn. In the process, we go collectively super intelligent. And not a moment too soon, we leverage that collective super intelligence to then cool the planet by implementing planetary scale solar radiation management with this newfound collective super intelligence. Melissa has her hand up, and Fallon has his microphone unmuted, so I assume you want to talk as well. So Melissa, why don't you go, and then followed by Fallon. Go for it.
Thanks, Jamen. I just wanted to go back to a conversation that Fallon was having with us a little bit ago about planting food in a local place that's urban. And one idea that's coming to me is to start undoing what we have done. So like planting around trees that are on in sidewalks, digging up parts of pavement and planting, putting out planter boxes, garbage cans. I mean, Jamen, you and I just planted in tubs, right? Yesterday, our own food. And that's super easy to do. You can use anything really for a container, as long as you put some holes in the bottom, which we did with a hammer and a funny tool. And you know, I think just regreening the city, I think it's a really positive thing to bring the plants back in. We bring the insects, we bring the birds back in. You know, the water is drawn to plants, and it could be a community activity that starts to re-ensoul the urban centers, which so badly need that. So it's providing food, but it's also bringing beauty and greenery into the city context. Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Um,
Oh yeah, go ahead, Fallon.
no, I was listening to the strategy that you were laying out for the Brooklyn Eat, and of course, pointing to the meta strategy that is being developed. My question is this: like, if we are collective intelligence, how is it that we have a prescriptive approach to strategizing? Because I mean, when you think about stigmergy, when you think about natural organization, when you think about how an organism comes to determine what their agency is, their design, individuated is this, and this is what I do. And what I'm curious about is how is it that we might be able to arrive at that decision, what it is that we're going to do? How is it that we're even going to design this form of what it is that we're going to do? How is it that we're even going to do that? Like, I know that there are all of this connectivity, and I think that we take it for granted that just because we're connected doesn't necessarily mean that we're connected. This broadcast receiving relationship that exists within those connections and us being inculcated into that is still a problem, you know? There's a lot of reconnection that's going to have to get made to enable like a free flow of information. There has to be this radical transparency that we first have to become acclimated to, you know? One of the reasons why I was just thinking of that particular baby step, as in getting collective intelligence together to manage some type of community-based commons, would be a very localized effort, And I was attaching this particular idea to the DAO that I'm constructing. And one of the challenges that I'm realizing, like in terms of getting people organized on any type of commons, is clearly transparency. It's clearly a platform that could, a platform or some type of system that could negotiate like everything that needs to get done. And to have enough people who are interested in plugging in and maintaining like all of the the maintenance of it, so that we don't necessarily have to deposit like these centralized structures to manage it. I came up with some really interesting ideas. In trying to negotiate that, and I think, in short, what we have to do is pay a little bit more attention to those connectivities and see how is it that we might be able to rewire those communications around like central points. I'm seeing that like if a lot of thought starts to be directed around there, you know, where we shift the attention from commercialism and how is it that we can inculcate people just and train them into the market system. How is it that we can actually shift that focus, you know, that collective intelligence focus towards the other thing, you know? I think that that's where the exponential capacity that you're talking about might actually come from.
Beautiful, Fallon. Awesome. Love it. You know, this is actually something we've given a lot of thought to and had a lot of conversation around. That doesn't mean that we've got the answer, right? But we collectively we've been evolving an answer, and I'll just articulate it as it's occurring to me, and I encourage everyone to articulate their perspectives on it. But what occurs to me, and we were talking about this extensively on the block party, and so had a lot of great comments about this, and I just really love the way she put it, and I'll try to re-articulate it, her words, and add some of my own. But that basically, the way humanity works as a species is, well, first, how we don't work and how we do work. How we don't work is we all get together and talk, and then we agree on something, and then we go do it. The way we do work is someone or some group comes and says, here, this. And everyone kind of looks and goes. And then if there's enough of a critical mass of primates doing this, right, it grows. And if no one's doing this, it's like, okay, maybe back to the drawing board. So in my world, the doing of this, right, is us coming together, coming to Brooklyn. For you, it's not a very far commute, Fallon, as I understand. But all of us, from wherever we are, we come to Brooklyn, including coming virtually through a Zoom video conference. I want to be there in person when it happens. So we do the press conference. We say, hello, world. We are launching Brooklyn Eats. And our mission is to feed everyone in Brooklyn. Our promise is to feed everyone in Brooklyn. Our commitment is to feed everyone in Brooklyn. And we invite the world to watch, if that's what you're into. But more importantly, get involved, right? Because what we create here in Brooklyn is going to be a model for the rest of New York City, which is going to be a model for the rest of the world. Feeding everyone. Nutritious, whole food, plant-based diets, et cetera, immune boosting, et cetera. So you got your hand up, go for it.
Right, today I was thinking about the expression, having it on a plate. That we mean by that, it's like you haven't earned it, you know, you haven't struggled for it. And I started to rethink, we've got it's quite a loaded term. It's like, oh, they had it on a plate, you know, like, so what if you have it on a plate? Why not have it on a plate? Some gorillas are walking through forests, having it on a plate. The whatever is growing, they're munching it. They've got it on a plate. If we were fortunate enough, and most people in the global north were fortunate enough to have it on a plate as kids, you had it on a plate. And I just think, I slightly said it before, but I think we're in the paradigm of struggle. You know, I just realized that I was, you know, I want all the mechanics, how do you get there and everything. And then there's all this, we're infected by this moral vision of like, you have to have earned it. No, I just think, no, you don't have to earn it. You don't have to earn anything. Having it on a plate is good.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah. You see, and really it becomes this big paradigm changing, transforming thing. And I keep pointing back to the press conference the President Vicente Fox of Mexico and I co-organized back in 2013. My goodness, 7 years ago, almost to the day, that changed the course of history as regards prohibition, organized crime, regulation, legalization, et cetera, et cetera. And what we're about to do in Brooklyn is, for me, exactly the same kind of thing. We're going to shock and awe everyone by coming out and proclaiming it, standing by that vision, committing to it. And let me just paint the worst case scenario just to get it on the table, right? Here's the worst case scenario. We go and do the press conference. We start with whatever resources we have. And it's like this, poof, and it all dies down. 2 weeks later, there's Jamen Shively alone on a street corner in Brooklyn saying, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And he's all alone. That's a story. Hey, what happened? Well, apparently I'm the only person on earth who cares about feeding everyone. And then you know what's going to happen next? Fallon's going to show up and say, you know what, Jamen, I'm still with you, brother. Let's do this. And then So is going to fly over from London and say, you know what, gentlemen, I'm with you. And Jackie's going to come out from Arizona and ride out with Melvin. And we're going to say, we're with you, we're with you. And it's going to be Operation Stone Soup. I don't care how quickly or slowly or bumpy the start. The point is to start. That's one of the main lessons of the story of Stone Soup is you start and you put it out there for the whole community to see, right? Listen, when we present to New York, hey, New Yorkers, we're feeding everyone in Brooklyn. It's the start of a new paradigm. We're tired of dying, right? That's gotten a little bit old. It was kind of exciting at first, but it's kind of gotten old now, right? We're kind of tired of dying, you know, and seeing our loved ones die. So we're going to do something. Do you really think New York is just going to go yawn? You know, what's, you know, how'd our baseball team do today? No, New Yorkers are going to be are going to be all over it. The first thing they're going to be is going to be talking about it. Oh, that's not practical. Okay, fine. At least they're talking about it. All right. And a bunch of badass New Yorkers are going to say, you know what? All this talk is great. Whatever. I'm in. What's up? It's going to be a throwdown. It's going to be a throwdown, New York style. And I'm going to be right at the front of it. So if anyone's going to take a brick in the face, it's going to be me. Yeah. So take a good look at my face. You know the smile seems out of place. And until everyone's eating good food, you're going to see the tracks of my tears.
Thank you. I'm encouraged.
That's all I asked for, Fallon, at this point. And you know what? That just proved the model. Because if people start getting encouraged,
it's a good model. It's a good model, and it's inspiring, and yeah, it's really inspiring. I'm thinking that maybe such a process person, you know, because I think we can gain that same type of inertia and still do things, you know, like still have like logistics, have time to coordinate certain things, you know, like if you can build like some type of hype of a mission, but like spread it out a little bit, you know, in terms of time frame, build like some type of campaign around like these specific markers, you know, like, hey, this particular period of time, and then have people like until, yeah, all the way until you make it at the steps of the Brooklyn Bridge or something like that. But like have like a real process where it can really be, you know, like it could lose any kind of gimmicky tone to it. It can like accomplish all of the stone soup objectives and still give logistics the ability to deliver on those objectives.
Love it, Fallon. Here, I'm going to screen share for a second. You mentioned logistics. I just got to screen share this real quick. So this is an image from a past life when I was manager of logistics development for Cemex, the most profitable cement company in the world. And this shows a map of all their different cement plants throughout Mexico. So I led a team of engineers at Cemex who all worked for me to build a system to model and optimize all of this for, at the time, 15 million tons of cement per year. Now it's much more than that. And it's been taken international from Mexico to all the countries where Cemex operates. Anyway, all that is to say is I have a real love for logistics, and not just getting things done, but doing it right, optimizing it, right? So I'm right there with you, Fallon. So for me, there's kind of a yin and a yang to this. The yin is, and Fallon, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll mute your microphone unless you're about to say something, because we get okay. Thanks, bro. So the yin is the conversation part, the talking about it, the dreaming into it, the feeling into it, you know, the tracks of my tears, right? Really getting our hearts into it and getting committed. The logistics is, okay, brass tacks. Where do we start? What time? What location? With what resource? How's it all going to work? I'm all over that too. I'm all about that too. Most of my life was spent focusing on that part. And what I realized was missing was the conversation part, the collective intelligence part, the coming together. I mean, look, we got a dude who looks like Moses on the screen now. You know, what, did you just step into a time machine and teleport 2,000 years into the future? Moses, what are the missing commandments? Fill us in. That's my brother Fred. Anyway, you're on mute, Fred.
No, everybody, glad to be here. I don't know if Jamen told you, I broke my hip 8 days ago, and I am recovering. And yeah, so anyway, that's where I'm at right now, dealing with that. And of course, all the overwhelming other things that we're faced with. But most immediately, I have to pay attention to my physical being. So anyway, good to see everybody, and onward and upward. I'm going to mute and do the things I have to do while I'm listening to you guys. So thank you.
I am so happy you're here, Fred, brother. Everybody, Fred is from New York, born and raised, and then he actually moved out to Phoenix, of all places. So we got some serious connection here, because we got two people from Arizona here on the call right now. And Fallon is in New York, in Brooklyn to be specific. And it's precisely Brooklyn where we're planning on launching this whole thing with a program called Brooklyn Eats, which is the first implementation of a planetary, what I'm calling the hyper solution of Operation Stone Soup, which is feed everyone all around the world, starting in Brooklyn, right? And kicked off with a proper press conference that conveys to the world, this is what we're doing in Brooklyn, and which invites the world to participate in what we're doing in Brooklyn through video conferences like this one, but way more organized. Why? Because there's gonna be way more people than just a dozen of us showing up and saying, hey, what's up, what's up, what's up? No, no, no. We're gonna have millions of people. If we do this right, and that's the plan, right? That's the intention. We're gonna have millions of people pouring in. So we need to have a way for if all these people coming in are represented like by these fingers coming in from above, we need a way to kind of fan them out and organize them into the appropriate meeting rooms where the appropriate people can talk with the other appropriate people on whatever topics. And this is really the key. You know, I don't really like the expression divide and conquer, but that's the one everybody knows, so I'll use it with caution. We divide the problem into its different portions. What are the different portions in this case, right? Growing food in Brooklyn, sourcing food from outside of Brooklyn. So that's a natural bifurcation. And then the food that's grown, wherever it's grown, channeling it to participating restaurants and other food service establishments that are playing with us, right? And for starters, what that'll probably mean is, hey, we'll bring you the food. Will you please prepare it? Once it's prepared, we'll deliver it to everyone. And the preparation of the food is your contribution to the stone soup, right? And there will be some restaurants who will be game and they'll jump in. There'll be others who say, listen, I'd love to play, but I got to keep my lights on here and I got to pay my people, right? So, you know, and then meanwhile, you know, some rich lady in Manhattan will cut us a fat check, and then we've got funds to pay the people who need to be paid and to pay for the fuel that needs to be paid for, et cetera, et cetera. This is how it's going to go down, right? I'm not saying exactly how it's going to go down, but this is the big picture. We start with a press conference. I'm saying just ballpark minimum on the order of, you know, a dozen full trucks full of food ready to go at the press conference. So we got something that the media can sink their teeth into, so to speak, and say, whoa, now here's a story, right? We start with 10 trucks, right? 10 truckloads, deliver it. But the most important thing is the story. The most important thing about Stone Soup was the story. The most important thing about Operation Stone Soup is the story, because that story is going to spread. It's going to catch fire. People are going to be talking about it. Did you hear about what they're doing in Brooklyn? Yes, I heard. Do you believe it? Can you believe it? Well, who's doing it? Is it the government? Is it the church? No, it's this decentralized thing, right? There's this dude named Fallon who's pushing this decentralized thing. I don't really understand it. It's kind of like just the whole community, the whole world is coming together to make sure that Brooklyn eats, right? Brooklyn Eats is not just a name, it's a complete sentence. Brooklyn Eats, right? So we're going to tell that story. It's going to spread. There's going to be pictures, video, social media, mass media. It's happening in New York, right? The news capital of the world, the news media capital of the world. I'm not saying they do a great job of it, but they're the news media capital of the world, right? They're doing it, right? Love them, hate them, they're doing it. So when we're doing it right across the river from Manhattan, Manhattan's gonna wake up and pay attention, guaranteed. Because you know what? This is the ticket to safety for New York. This is the safety net for New York. New York, metaphorically, is a burning building right now. We're the New York Fire Department holding the net, saying, "Go ahead, ma'am, jump. We'll catch you." That right there, I just said that on the fly. I wasn't reading off a script. Can you imagine that going over the airwaves from the press conference in Brooklyn? Everyone's just their jaws are gonna drop. What? Yeah, we're feeding everyone in Brooklyn. Are you in or out? And media, here's what you can do. Come here every morning, every day, going into the future. And I want you to come here and say, all right, Mr. Shively, how's it going? How many people have you fed today? Right? And I'll say, let me put it back at you. How many kids have you killed today by not jumping in and promoting this properly? Ooh, right? We'll put it right back at you, media. Fox News, Channel 8. How many kids have you killed today? Fox News, Channel 8. How many kids have you killed today? By not promoting this story and instead promoting something about the stock market. You can't eat freaking paper. So we put it, it's up to you, New York. It's up to you, New York, New York. Look, I'm not even from New York. I'm this hairy dude from California. I might even, I'll probably get a haircut when we do the press conference, right? Like Sarah told me to do, seriously. I'll clean up real good, but we're doing this, right? And I'll say, how about it, New York? Are you up to the challenge? I am. I'm not going anywhere. And we'll have a whole bunch of cool people committing along with us. It'll become contagious, infectious, dare I say, right? It'll spread. The idea virus will spread that everybody eats, starting in Brooklyn. Brooklyn eats. As soon as you do the press conference, it becomes an inevitability. Why? Because people like to eat. People like to eat. They don't like to not eat, right? This thing's going to explode. So what are we doing? We're gathering together people who agree with us, right? Until we have enough of us and enough resource to reserve the appropriate space in Brooklyn, set the time, put it on the calendar, communicate it to everyone who needs to hear it, get all the resource together, all the food, all the trucks, all the restaurants and everything else. And that's an organic process, right? And Fallon, I love the idea of bringing a DAO into it. Okay, a couple of hands just went up. I think it was Fallon first, followed by Emery. Go for it, Fallon.
Yeah, no, I love the idea. I was sold on it when you told me about it on the 20-hour call. Yeah, I think it has a lot of legs there. I think that setting kind of like a countdown really works. I think it would make a lot of sense if we had some type of tangible idea of like who would we want to target, like we can do that, but like at every interval step there can potentially be like different levels of organizations that can get together, whether it's like a major distributor or like a major canning company or a major, like we live in a world that's already very siloed, and to not acknowledge that and not necessarily just approach those silos and within a strategy to give them time to contribute to that inertia, I don't know. That's what I was thinking. I wanted to contribute to that. Hopefully that makes sense. And
Makes total sense. Makes total sense to me. Um, you know, I think if you just imagine this unfolding, it all starts in a conversation, and the conversation grows and grows and grows as more communities are invited to participate in the conversation. They hear about the mission, they hear about this thing coming together, they join. And we get a critical mass of people together. We do the press now. So as these people are joining, different people are joining, and different sort of communities are forming, right? You know, sort of sub-communities within the larger. I keep talking about a community of communities. This will be no different. And welcome, James from Cork, Ireland. Welcome back, brother. One of the communities will be food distributors. Another will be restaurants, right? Another will be farmers. Another will be community garden organizers. Melvin was sharing earlier about that and his volunteer work with that in the Phoenix area. So we'll have these different communities forming. That's part of the divide and conquer thing, right? One community will be all about the donations. How do we handle donations, right? And make sure we have integrity around that. Another community is all about volunteers and organizing volunteers. So we have so many different communities that we need to organize, right? To make this totally complete, right? And to make sure we've got every aspect of this covered. And in the process of defining these different communities and organizing the different meetings and everything like we're doing right here, in the process, a moment will be reached, because this is all one big evolution. A moment will be reached where we've hit critical mass. And it's like, you know what? We've got everyone represented here who needs to be at the table. We've got the resources we need. We've got the 10 truckloads of food donated, ready to go. We've got the restaurants ready to prepare it. Let's do this. We'll have a whole community focused on the press conference itself. Media professionals, graphic designers, bloggers, right? A whole community focused on the press conference. And a sub-community within that will be focused on the logistics. Where's the location? What time do we start? You know, what's the whole T-minus planning to get there and make sure everything flows, right? I mean, this is how anything works. It starts with a conversation, and then we grow and grow and grow and organize and organize and organize. And then we execute. But the moment we do the press conference, that's when everything changes. Up to that, it's going to look like a lot of slow build, whatever. But then it'll get faster and faster as more and more communities jump in and say, hallelujah, this is so obvious. What have we been waiting for? I don't know what we've been waiting for, but thank you, Fallon. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, everyone who's been participating in this to get this thing started. I'm in. Everyone's going to be in. Everyone's going to be in. Emery's had his hand up for a little bit, and followed by Fallon. Go for it, Emery.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Like what you're saying, I like what Fallon's been saying. But I'd like to point out something that I would like to see a little bit more of is to map all this out in a more, map it out so that I could visually see how this is coming together, like what we've done in the past, I'd like to see a little bit more of that right now, and then once we do reach that critical mass, like I'm gonna have like we're gonna like provide some kind of a countdown, like a build up once we got it all lined up, get all the media, like that too has to be mapped out. Like, there's probably quite a lot of media, that we need to reach out to, get it rolling, get it, plant the seed, and plant that countdown, get that rolling. You know what I mean? So that there's the awareness, the build up the awareness of what we're in, of the intention, of the, so that, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, Emery. Totally, totally. And, having been through this process before with the countdown and everything, to President Vicente Fox from Mexico coming and us doing the big press conference that we did on May 30th, 2013, we went through that whole process. One of the great things about this community that we've got here together leading this whole thing is we have basically all the talent that we need to do this, to lead this, right? We've got the experience, There's really not a lot to question here, I would posit. Questions are always welcome. I'm just saying it's kind of getting to the point of obviousness, right? And it's like, are we going to do this or not? I'm in. Fallon, you got your hand up. Go for it, bro.
Hey guys, I just wanted to stop by and to kick it with you guys for a little bit, but I'm gonna jump off and finish some work. And I was thinking that maybe we can open a document and start to do some of that stuff. I'd be glad to, and I want to see. I'm looking forward to see all of those beautiful thoughts and on some type of something that we can all contribute to. Thank you. With that, I'm complete.
That works for me. Let's do it. Did you want to set that up, Fallon, or you want me to? What's
you have all of the emails, and you have my email. You can name the document, and we can start just maybe playing with it a little bit. So all of the conversations we could immediately kind of start harvesting and direct all of the pieces that fall between point A and Z.
Love it, love it, love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude, thank you, Fallon. And come back anytime. We'll be here at this meeting for another 6 hours. We go for 8 hours on Tuesdays. So we'll be here till.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll stop by. I'll stop by in a few.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Fallon. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Wow, super cool. Yeah, let's see, this is it. It's happening. Having a document, that's part of the organization. And now it's just it's spontaneous. So I think we just got to keep showing up, basically. And what there is to do will just manifest. It'll just be obvious at any given moment, right? And the more of us there are, and the better organized we are. So I think one of the first things is just to chunk it out. What are the logical chunks, right? Let's chunk it out. And also there's kind of the bigger picture context to all this, and that's what I emailed to everyone last night. I'm happy to screen share that, go through that, edit as I go, if that makes sense, right? Because I'm going back, a week ago, 10, 11 days ago, when we were talking about this, and it's it was more nascent, and it's okay, remember I said at the time, there's kind of 3 stages to it. There's the goal, the strategy to get there, and then steps 1, 2, and 3. And for me, step number 1 was, I said, mastering this conversation. Well, that's what I sent out via email last night, is finally distilling down that conversation into writing. And then we can all edit it. We can perfect that. And we got to figure out how to do that. Is it with Google Docs? Do we open it up to everyone to edit? What do we do when some spammer comes in and deletes everything? All these questions. One of the cool things about Google Docs is it saves all the past history. So even stuff that gets deleted. But anyway, bottom line, we just have to figure it out. And remember, again, I talked about the yin and yang of the conversation, right? Having the conversation and all this beautiful sharing that we're doing, right? Which includes facts and figures. It includes emotions. It includes our heart. It includes our dreams. It includes our essence, our spirit. It's so holistic, right? And then the yang is what I'm calling the brass tacks logistics. What are we actually doing in the physical world? How many dollars are in the bank? How many, tons of rice are in the warehouse, et cetera? And how do we get that, keep that all rolling? So yin and yang. Having been a little bit in the yang space now, I'm kind of wanting to go back to the yin a little bit. And there's this video that I wanted to play for everyone. It's about 5 minutes, but for me it helps get that perspective of the whole world in there. Is this a good time for that? Shall I take 5 and screen share and play a little video? Okay, great. Let me do it. All right. First, I'm going to take out my earbuds because I think that's affected us in the past. So let me go to normal speaker and then share this video. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? I assume so. Built in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Okay. So, screen sharing.
You might try muting your mic as well when you're playing the video, Jamen, because that might interfere.
That's a great idea, James. Let me do that. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to mute my microphone, and if folks could just give me a thumbs up, whoever is on the screen, if the sound is coming through, okay, that'll help me. So going on mute. You won't hear from me again for 5 minutes. So just give me hand signals or chat signals or whatever. Okay, thanks everyone. Sharing now. Oh, okay, I'm unmuting because I just realized that for me to, I have to download something because I'm doing this on a different computer than I normally did. Let me just see if I can get this sorted out real quick. If not, I'll ask someone else to share for me. Okay. All right, I think I downloaded the right bits, so let me give this a go, and everyone just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you can hear or not hear. Okay, going on mute and sharing. In 1972, as the Apollo 17 crew left Earth's orbit for the moon, they shot this famous photograph. After hundreds of thousands of years of human existence, for the first time, we saw our world as a whole. Hi, I'm Jamen Shively. I have a vision for our world that I know I share with many of you. The entire Earth and all its inhabitants, healthy and complete, where everyone is taken care of in a manner that can continue far into the future. This vision for our world I can sum up in one word: whole. A whole world. We humans have been enormously successful by many measures in that billions live in prosperity and health with advances that were inconceivable just a few generations ago. But Houston, we have a problem. In fact, we've got a lot of problems. Billions are languishing in destitution and despair. Seemingly insurmountable challenges, such as climate change and hunger, continue to plague us year after year. but we can solve our problems. We have the power to reverse impoverishment of people and the planet. Let's look at just one persistent problem staring us in the face today: hunger. According to the United Nations World Food Program, hunger is entirely solvable. There is enough food in the world to feed everyone, and no scientific breakthroughs are needed. When we work together to solve hunger, we increase productivity and create economic opportunities. Persistent hunger, malnutrition, and starvation are stark effects of our existing economic system. Simply put, we are perpetuating an economic system that is unjust and unsustainable. For ages, we have defaulted to a system based on greed and a fear of scarcity that degrades human life and the Earth's ecosystems. I call this the economy of hoarding, the amassing of personal wealth without regard to the well-being of either people or the planet. I propose instead a cooperative, compassionate approach. An approach that utilizes today's and tomorrow's technologies and understandings to build an economy of sharing in which surplus profit is redistributed for the good of all people and the planet. In an economy of sharing, business and trade can continue to develop and thrive in a just and sustainable manner, while caring for the entire planet and all its people. By building a compassionate economy, the problems we face will be solved. Only by rooting down to the causes of our problems will we finally break the vicious cycle of poverty and devastation. Why wait for governments or agencies to act when we can act now to solve these critical problems that are threatening our very survival? For the first time in human history, we have what it takes to collaborate and co-create on a scale and scope never before imagined. In the videos to follow, I introduce a number of practical alternatives to the status quo. Taken together, this multi-part proposal provides a number of marketplace solutions to market-based problems. Thank you for playing a part in the Hungerless Games. May the games begin. All righty. I trust that communicated well. Thank you, Emery. Thanks everyone for watching. Love to hear everyone's thoughts and sharing. So just, I don't think, oh yeah, Emery's got his hand up. Go for it, Emery, brother. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good video. You know, I was thinking like that I could see setting up some kind of a switchboard. You know what I mean? Switchboard, where as people become aware of the operation, they would have somewhere to call, somebody to reach out to, and that's why I call it a switchboard. And I guess once they are able to connect to a live conversation, you know, can be vectored towards, you know, particular conversation that's like could be planned, or an individual who is assigned a certain part of the tasks that are planned. You know what I mean? And you know, because we're going to have key key players in this. You know, like the contributor, like all the contributors who are going to be a part of this greater movement. You know, and there's gonna have to be some kind of ability of connecting directly to these people, you know, to get their actions coordinated, you know, and just the information distributed in a timely manner so that things could proceed in a, you know, in a efficient way. Because, you know, there's going to be some kind of a schedule here, I'm sure. The schedule is going to be mapped out at some point, and you know, all the ways and means of doing what needs to be done also has to be gone over and understood, you know, because everybody's going to have a certain part to play, right? And they need to be aware of it. It's just something to think about and work on. And I guess once you establish a working doc, like what you were saying with Fallon, set that up by possibly, you know.
Well, totally, Emery. You know, in terms of the coordination of everyone on this, what I'm envisioning is that there will be not one, but a number of Zoom video conferences like this one that are going literally 24/7, that are the ongoing eyes, ears, brain, and central coordination system of the entire network of all of Brooklyn Eats, right? And you know, the reason it's a conversation is so that anything that comes up, like I kind of imagine there being this sort of central switchboard function, right? So that anyone who jumps in and says, hey, I have this piece of news, or I have this resource, or I have this problem, or I have this group of people that's ready to volunteer, or I have this news flash from Long Island that there's been a broccoli whatever infestation, and so we got to cool it with the broccoli, whatever, right? I have something. Like, they just show up and they say, I have something, right? That there be essentially a giant catcher's mitt, right? I'm reminded of the old Brooklyn Dodgers, right? Imagine a giant Brooklyn Dodgers catcher's mitt that catches everyone who comes in, no matter what they got. Says, hey, what you got? And you catch it. And then from the catcher's mitt, it says, oh, okay, you need to join this meeting over here. So everything you just told us, tell them, and here's the link. And we teleport them out of the catcher's mitt and into the meeting where they can act on the information that the person has, right? Does that make sense? Right? Like, you know, if I call in per Emery, I see you got your hand up, Emery. So if I call in and say, hey, I got 5 volunteers, right? Who do I talk to? They should either give me, depending on whether I'm calling in or on a Zoom video conference, either give me a phone number or a Zoom link so that I can go join the meeting where they are receiving volunteer offers and then getting those appropriately organized, right? Because there's efforts all over the city that need volunteers, right? So there needs to be like a central switchboard that directs people wanting to volunteer to those projects that are happening right now that need volunteers right now, et cetera, et cetera. Or likewise for, you know, for tomorrow or for for scheduling, if I'm volunteering them for, say, this weekend, you know, but basically so that I can talk with a live person who's kind of an expert in connecting volunteers with the different projects that are happening all over town. This could be someone who's just literally sitting at home and, you know, coordinating with 5 other volunteer coordinators and collectively, they're just figuring this thing out, which is going to be this dynamic, growing thing that's very real time. All right, we got 3 folks with their hands up in order. We've got Emery, followed by James, followed by Myra. Go for it, Emery.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's the figuring out, you know, and the teleportation. That's very interesting. But like, I could see it in a physical sense, though. We're talking about Brooklyn. We should have like an ability to know whose boots on the ground over there, because it's gonna need that physical contact, right? I mean, we could reach out over the media, you know, over the internet and whatnot, and plan things out to some degree. But at the end of the day, you know, it's gonna need hands on, right, on the scene, and you know, strategically, I think that's what's gonna be needed to be planned out and organized. You know, who's who in each part of the process, right? So we have work to do. You know, I see, you know, plenty to do. But I see we're gonna need a lot of people in Brooklyn. Come on, Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Emery. In terms of the coordination of all this, just imagine that there will be a centralized database that gets updated like every second with new information. And in that centralized database, it's a real-time, at any given moment, it's a real-time snapshot of all the projects that are happening right now versus ones that are paused until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning or some other future time. But all the projects that are happening right now, and all the volunteers who are working on them right now, and who can be reached and who is unreachable. And there will be a 24/7 Zoom video conference conversation tracking each and every project. Some conversations will be tracking multiple projects, if that makes sense. Other conversations will be focused on a specific project. Fred raised his hand, and I'm going to give Fred the mic, even though a couple of people are in the queue, because I know Fred's...
So, 1 second thing, who's the most valuable person to get in touch with in Brooklyn?
I don't know, but Fred, you've got some friends in New York, and I don't care what borough they're in. If they're in New York...
Jay-Z.
Who? Jay-Z?
Jay-Z.
Well, then let's
He's
get a hold
of Brooklyn. If Jay-Z gets on board, Brooklyn will get on board.
Well,
What?
Well, put the word out on the street then that J-Man wants to talk with Jay-Z, yo.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's not forget, Jay-Z is a hip billionaire, right? But he is a businessman. So to approach him, and I really, really do believe that if we're going to do this in Brooklyn, if you get Jay-Z behind it, where we have the best mouthpiece we could possibly have. If he endorses it, then all the kids will think it's cool, let's volunteer, let's make it happen. The thing is, to approach Jay-Z with this idea, we have to have a really clear, articulate, concise explanation of what we're doing and how it makes sense, because he is a businessman. And something like we're proposing typically takes a long time to get organized. So I can't just show up on his doorstep with this idea without a very realistic timeline, you know, like how we're going to get all this coordinated. But the only point I wanted to make is Jay-Z is the guy in Brooklyn to get on board. Okay.
That's a really great point, Fred. Point well taken. We are putting together the plan right now. So whatever's missing, now is the time to fill it in. Not tomorrow, but actually right now. And so I see you got your hand up. I'll call on you in a second. And then we've also got James and Myra in the queue. But I just want to make a quick point here, which is that you said something very significant, Fred, that projects like this typically take a long time. We are not in typical waters. We are not in typical times. And the fact that everyone in the world is now plugged in via Zoom and we can all coordinate like this, like we never did before, that is very, very atypical, right? You and I have been doing this for a couple of years because I pioneered, a number of us pioneered this 3 years ago, and we've been doing it ever since. But we were way out in left field at the time. Now it's becoming way more mainstream. So what's possible now is totally different than what was possible before, right? So like a kayak who's trying to paddle through the waters of the Salish Sea, dragging a giant, chain that reaches all the way down to the ocean floor, Homeboy's going to be seriously constrained. In fact, he may not even be able to move, a yard beyond where he's tethered to. So to the extent that we tether ourselves to patterns from the past that were extremely dysfunctional and are totally irrelevant now, I think we're totally shooting ourselves in the foot. So I'm gonna call it out and caution against it whenever I see that happening. And I see it happening right now where there's an idea on the table that, oh, these typically take a long time. That's not relevant here. This is going to happen very, very quickly. It is happening very, very quickly, and it's going to accelerate exponentially. And anyone who's not on board with that needs to say so. I invite you to say so if you're not on board with that, so we can deal with that, because this Fred Flintstone mobile is going to get going really quickly, and we need everyone's feet pushing in the same direction, and we don't need drag, right? So let's get on the mindset that we're defining it now. I'm going to screen share in a bit and share some stuff that I wrote up that I emailed out last night that puts this in black and white and puts it in writing and, starts to give holistic form to the whole thing. With that, I'm complete for the moment. So you've wanted to interject, and then James and Myra have been waiting for several minutes as well. Go for it, So.
Fred, I think all that grab a celebrity stuff is part of the old pattern. I don't like it. It's, I don't know if you've got much more of a celebrity culture and a kind of adoration of celebrity thing going on in America. It's always had that much more in a big way than UK. But there's a kind of strong move in the UK, which was kind of epitomized by Ricky Gervais, his talk at the Golden Globes. And people are kind of sickened by it. Now, we're not sickened by talent. We're not sickened by great actors, great singers, great philosophers, whatever kind of they are. But it's this other layer of celebrity, and getting the celebrity is like saying, oh, we need their agency. Well, I don't think we need their agency. And that might not be very popular, but I'm going to throw that in.
Fred, brother, you're on mute. I'm going to unmute you. I just unmuted you.
Jay-Z
okay.
is more than a celebrity. He's an impresario, and he's capable of, I believe, of mutating into something that would serve our purposes. I don't think he necessarily would need to be, to put his stamp on the cover of the book. It would, he would just help facilitate it. And if we made it clear, let's say, that we're trying to avoid using celebrities because we're against the celebrity culture, he could probably understand that. He's a very bright guy. All I'm saying, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. I really do. I'm just saying that Jay-Z carries a lot of weight in Brooklyn, and he could, I believe, facilitate getting, he's like maybe the first stage of the rocket. I could be wrong. I'm just, when I think of Brooklyn right now, that's the first thing. And my daughter lived there for 13 years. She just came home. So, yeah. So just wanted, I think Jay-Z's a very, not chameleon-like, but is a very malleable person. And I think, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry to butt in, but I just wanted to respond to what you had. Okay.
All right, we got 3 people patiently waiting in the queue. But just on that note, I see it really simply. Everyone's welcome, everyone's invited, and we're not going to hold up the train because Jay-Z hasn't answered our phone calls yet. The train rolls on, and in fact, in that spirit, just like when President Vicente Fox and I did our press conference on May 30th, 2013, the majority of people in the industry, from drug policy experts to entrepreneurs to growers to smugglers to the vast majority of the people in the industry we had not contacted yet. We had no connection with, right? We put out the news and then suddenly everyone starts contacting us, including Congressman Dana Rohrabacher of the Rohrabacher FAR bill, one of the 2 people in Congress who've done the most to promote legalization. He contacted me because he saw the press conference and said, whoa, right? It's entirely possible that Jay-Z and about 100 other badass, musicians from Brooklyn will be calling us the day of the press conference saying, I want in, or more likely showing up. Can you imagine Jay-Z just shows up the day of the press conference? There where we are on stage with, the Boomtown Rats, and he's just like, yo, me and my bros do a song here? We're in, right? And where's the donation basket? I brought my checkbook. This thing is going to explode New York style. But the thing is, the most of all the successful ingredients to make a block party successful in New York, and this is going to be one badass block party in Brooklyn, okay? The most successful element is that you actually do it. You show up and do it and turn on the lights and turn on the music and, draw out the hopscotch with the chalk on the pavement and freaking get it on, right? That's the most important ingredient. And that's the one that we're coming at with spades, is we're doing this and we're not going to wait. And in the meantime, please, if you got to into Jay-Z, or if you know somebody who knows him, or his manager, whatever, right? Or the person who does his nails or whatever, invite him, right? All right. James, you've had your hand up, and followed by Myra, followed by Emery, followed by Melissa. All right, James, brother, thanks for your patience, everyone. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah, kind of a bit to say about everything. I agree. First of all, anyway, where you're coming from, anyway, there straight away. Like, if you announce the party, people will show up for the party. It's as simple as that. Like, everybody wants to be in the party. Wants us the right party, I suppose. So, but yeah, going back to like Emery, and I understand where Emery is coming about, the getting the nitty gritty sorted out, and of the and the details, and like Fred was saying, like there's a lot of organization and everything and all those details and everything, and I agree with parts of that, and I agree with parts of what So is saying, but at the same time, like we discussed with Bob Geldof or any other celebrity for that matter, it is a way of drawing focus to something that has its advantages. Although I did mention before that the actual idea itself can be consumed up by the celebrityism of it. So I understand where So is coming from. But in saying that, it was Bob Geldof was and like Fred is saying, Jay-Z is more of a businessman and he'll see what it is for what it is. We were saying like Bob Geldof is, from his aspect, coming from 1984 and that, like the 85 Feeding the World campaign and the Africa campaign and everything else. So like come on, come one, come all, as you said yourself, Jim, and that's the best attitude. Like, come one, come all, but come, like, to the party. Like, that's about the size of it. Like, what we need to be concentrating on is, like, I know where Emily's saying and Fred's saying it takes a lot to organize. Of course it does. But when you reach out to communities, that's what we need to do, is make the connections. And that's our main urgency is about making the connections. Once we make the connections, that's what I'm saying. The community connections. Once you let all communities are in the same situation. So once you let one community know this is the way to go, and they can see the sense in it, straight away they're telling the community right alongside them, next to them. You know, you get what I'm saying. Like, the idea itself is fantastic. It is going to work. It is going to, you know, take off once it does get momentum. But we just have to keep pushing at it. And, you know, we need to start making the connections. That's all it is. We need to start making the community connections. Once the communities get involved, they're the ones that are going to, you know, put all the little bits and pieces together, and all the cogs and all the connections will be forming naturally afterwards then. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm saying. Thanks.
Beautiful, James. Spot on, bro, as usual. All right, we've got Myra in the queue, followed by Emery, followed by Melissa. Myra, great to see you, sister. How you doing?
Hi, great to see you. I'm doing great. It was a very busy weekend. What has been very hectic. This is the reason why I'm taking here a little beer. A beer with no alcohol. To make me think that I can get drunk. You know, what you think, you materialize it. Anyways, I was gonna ask, the video that you shared with us right now, like, how long would it take you to do something similar? Because I think it would be so important to share all over the place about what is the intention in collective intelligence as far as dealing with hunger, especially in New York. I mean, we know that this is an issue that is getting more common in every state, not only Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn has been hit really hard, but this gets very common every single time in every part of this nation. So I think it will be very important if there was a possibility, if you can make something like this, obviously with all the work that has been done, and that way we can spread the message, and maybe, who knows, maybe we will get the attention of, start getting the attention of people out there that have more possibilities than us of contributing with money more than anything. For instance, the CEO from Amazon, I believe his name is Jeff Bezos, that will be a good person to reach out and to send them this video so he knows exactly what we're talking about. And maybe they can take this thing serious. A lot of people don't trust a lot of organizations out there because they believe that they are just out there to lucrate money or to get the best benefit, and we're not. We're out there for the people, and we have to be very transparent. And I think this cannot wait more. The conference with the press has to happen ASAP, but I feel like more of that, we have to have a video like the one you share with us right now, so we can start spreading it all over the place and see what effect it has.
All right, great. So I want to put a call out to a videographer who can do the work. I will show up for whatever recordings, whatever, and let's get that done. Also, to that end, I've written up some script, or the basis for a script, which I'll screen share as soon as everyone's ready. We've got Emery in the queue, followed by Melissa. I'll put myself in the queue after that. So Emery, Melissa, and then Jamen, and then I'll share the script or the document, and we can edit it. We can work on it in real time. Let's build a foundation for this, make it solid, and then proceed forward. across all these dimensions simultaneously. All right, Emery, followed by Melissa. Go for it, Emery.
Thanks, Jim. The word celebrities, I just go back to that to just had a comment regarding celebrities, and my comment towards that is that that doesn't hurt at all. You know, the more light that can be brought, the better. Now, something occurred to me, and this is that feeding Brooklyn, okay, can start with one street and one truck, okay? Now, wrap your mind around that, you know, we're not waiting to be able to feed the whole Brooklyn neighborhood now, but we're ready to start, right? So what's to prevent that from happening? And that in itself will draw a substantial amount of attention, I would imagine, okay? If you started to feed street by street, truck by truck, you know, the word is gonna get out, right? I think we could go about it that way. Small step, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's a step that is visible right now. And you know, it's action that can be, it's real, and people could reflect on it and think about it, you know, and imagine it expanding. Say, why just one street? To look at the effort that's happening. How great is that? You know, and street by street, they're going to catch on and say, hey, this is wonderful. You know, I think we should think about that. Bring it into our conversation here and see how that might be accomplished.
Yeah, good stuff, Emery. I've thought about that a ton, and I've got an answer for exactly how that might be accomplished. So I'll share that when it's my turn to share after Melissa. Melissa is next in the queue, followed by Jamen, and So has a good comment, which I'll address as well when it's my turn. And go for it, Melissa.
Well, Emery pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. I just wanted to, I will just say in my own words what Emery said, or what I heard him say, is that we can just start small. And just to remind all of us that on a higher plane, in this plane of spirit and creation, what is small is actually big, and what is big is small. So we're creating a movement of energy, a movement of emotion. And if you see an artist or a gardener planting flowers around the base of a tree, you're going to notice. And then you're going to go, oh, that looks so lovely. Oh, I'm going to do that. And so I don't think we need to wait for celebrities. A lot of celebrities are still caught up in their own, narcissism and their own fame and space. I'm not saying they all are, or that many are, some are doing good work, but I think that we're a very unique group, and we just need to get it started ourselves, and people will follow. They might not get it right away, but I think they actually will. I think this is called the Great Awakening this time. And I've had conversations with arts organizations in the Seattle area recently, talking about the way art is going and what we're focusing on. And there's definitely change in the air. A lot of them are still repeating old patterns, but they know that people know that we cannot continue in the direction that we have been going. So I think let's just go with the wave of change that's here, and let's just do it our way. You know, even if we fed a block or fed, you know, several blocks, people are going to talk. The phone lines are going to ring, and it'll be a beautiful precedent to set. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, sweetheart. Really great comments, really great insights. Jamen is next in the queue, followed by James. I first want to read what So had written. She wrote, why trucks? Why not bikes with big carriers? Bikes are clean for the environment. Jackie then wrote, I think we can do both, from the trucks to the bikes through the neighborhoods. I totally agree. And I would say let's do as much bicycling as we can. And the hybrid approach, as Jackie pointed out, is also quite interesting, where you drive a truck to a certain point that's like a hub. Food gets taken out of the truck and put onto the bicycles, and then it goes the last half mile or whatever by bicycle, right? Very efficient. Jackie, go ahead.
All right, I just want to clarify that the reason I brought that up, and again, because I'm from New York, I apologize because I see things different when people aren't from there. And I agree with So because it's cleaner. What I was envisioning when I was mentioning that is, especially when we're going to the highly dense, the projects that can go on for blocks and blocks and blocks with these huge high rises where you have so many buildings in such a small amount of space that the trucks will not be able to distribute effectively. It would have to have like a central hub like Jamen was describing, and then it would have to fan out from there in order to reach all of the different the buildings within the projects. I mean, I remember growing up in one city block, there must have been about 26 buildings, high rises, in one city block. And I imagine all of the apartments and all the families to distribute the food to just one city block. So I think it would have to be, especially when we go to those highly condensed areas, it would have to be, unfortunately, like a hybrid, at least in the beginning, until we can formulate a different way to do it. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jackie. All right. Now I'll continue with my sharing, what I wanted to share about this whole thing. And then James has his hand up as well. So there's a lot of ways that we could do this, right? And in the end, we're going to go with one way, you know, as a group, what we do collectively. And that way will either succeed or it'll fail. And so our job is to have this conversation as intensively and as long as we need until we get to a place where we reach consensus that's really well grounded, that we sleep on, that really feels good, not something where, you know, the A-type personality or whatever in the room says this is the way it's going to be, right? No, we have the conversation. So I'm going to throw in my 2 cents, and then whenever we're done with this round of talking, I'd like to screen share and go over the document where I really make it a lot more precise, and it's finally in black and white in writing in a form that we can edit and kick around and revise, and we can revise it on the fly as we go. But here's my 2 cents. As a student and practitioner of marketing, and having worked on the marketing and branding of really big stuff at Microsoft, and then Diego Pellicer, and, you know, now with Radish and the Block Party, et cetera, there's 2 laws that stick out as the main ones. Number 1, it's better to be first than it is to be better. And number 2, you cannot slowly, little by little, worm your way into someone's mind and build up a favorable position over time. It simply, the human mind doesn't work that way. A computer might be great at working that way, but not the human mind. The way the human mind works is that if you want to establish a favorable position inside somebody's mind, you have to blast your way in. It's as simple as that. So we could, you know, quietly go into Brooklyn and just in one neighborhood, just start feeding people, you know, and then little by little people hear about it. Little by little people hear about it. Next thing you know, we're like the wallpaper. We're just that thing that exists, and whoop-de-doo. And, you know, outside of that little portion of Brooklyn, not very many people hear about us. Okay, great. Instead, what I would propose is a whole different strategy, which is that our first step, not be feeding people, but our first step is a press conference. We have the press conference. As soon as that's over, let's say that goes for 2 hours. At the end of those 2 hours, then we go on to the immediate next step of feeding people. And I say we stockpile as much resource so that after the press conference, after the 2-hour press conference, we all go downstairs to the street, that there be as all of our resource that we've accumulated up to that point, we blast it in one giant mushroom cloud. If it's 20 truckloads of food, it's 20 truckloads of food. You know, those 20 truckloads of food might feed 3% of Brooklyn. You know, 2.6, 2.7 million people in the borough. That's a lot of food, right? That's a lot of trucks, okay? So, but 20 trucks is a big bang. The press conference is a big bang. You know, Dr. Priya Naik's medical team is a big bang, right? This whole thing is a big bang, a giant big bang, right? And that's the blasting into the mind that's so crucial. And then, so it's really about putting all of the firewood onto one pile, lighting it, and making the biggest bonfire splash blast that you possibly can. I don't care if 6 hours later there's no more food in the warehouse. The story got launched. The blast happened. We're now in people's minds, and now donations are pouring in. So we may be out of food 6 hours later, but that'll be the last time in the history of the earth that the Brooklyn warehouse is out of food, because so many donations are going to be pouring in. So many donations. It's going to be crazy, right? Everyone's going to get wrapped up in it in a very good way. So the press conference is the crucial first step in terms of actually doing something in Brooklyn, other than what we're doing with these Zoom meetings, right? I want us to talk with thousands of Brooklynites in the next few days, as soon as possible, right? But beyond zooming it up, right? The first big physical thing that I say we do is a big ass event. Press conference, music, block party, and delivery trucks out there delivering food, and media going crazy, and the world going crazy. And yes, even Jay-Z going crazy over it and saying, why wasn't I invited? And his manager telling him, you were. This was one of the 7 things that we blew off last, 2 weeks ago when we did our weekly briefing. Well, get me over there now. Okay, great. Let's go. Jay-Z. Hey, better late than never. Welcome, Jay-Z. Fred, there's Jay-Z. Jay-Z, Fred. All right, let's rock on. Let's keep delivering food, right? That'll be but a blip on the vinyl, right? Jay-Z is not the headline. Brooklyn Eats is the headline. Stone Soup is the headline, right? All right, James has his hand up, followed by Emery. And again, I really want to get to the document part. So let's get there. James, go for
it. Yeah, thanks, Jim. I suppose in a sense you kind of just covered what I was going to say anyway, because I agree with what Melissa was saying there now, and about the one street or one block or whatever. I mentioned it myself about 2 weeks ago. I don't know whether it was a block party or whether it was this solution club meeting anyway, but I did mention the idea of I'm all for thinking big. I wouldn't be on this block party if I wasn't, obviously, because we're not thinking small ideas here, let's face it. So I'm all for thinking big, but at the same time, I'm all for the logic of think beyond, not thinking too far beyond your means, in the sense of yes, I'm thinking big, but what we are capable of with the resources that you have as well, in a sense, or at least with the resources you can expect to have coming down the line. point being, you answered the question, or you covered what I was going to say anyway there, Jim, and anyway, because like I think what Melissa was saying, hinting at, and then same as I was hinting at a couple of weeks ago, and you know, whether it's a street or blah, we were saying like, yes, the press conference is the thing to launch. You have, that's the vital thing we have to work on. The press conference is the thing to launch, but we can't launch the press conference, as I said as well, like that, without having a lot of it, a lot of the arrangements made for the food and everything. As you said, when you come downstairs, it's going to be whatever it is, 20 truckloads or whatever. That's a lot of arrangement that'll be done as well. Like, so it's that arranging is what I'm talking about. We have to think about what we can arrange. You know what I mean? So before the press conference, we have to obviously have it figured out what we have arranged and what we're capable of doing. So we're confident enough with the press conference to carry on with that. So I think Melissa's saying the same thing anyway. Why, like, not go out there and say we're going to feed everyone? We're going to show a way how we can feed everyone, obviously. Like. So I think we should think about a borough, and I think we should think about, I'd say 100 trucks. You know what I mean? Let's not say 20 trucks. We said 100 trucks, whatever, because there's a lot of different products. So you're going to need trucks for different things, like, so, you know, and that we can't just drop up with 20 trucks of the same stuff. You know what I mean? So there's a bit of organisation there. So it's well within our means to organise 100 trucks of different products, different food items, and different whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. We figure that out. Like. So I think it's important, the press conference, but I also think like that we need to make sure that we can do what we're talking about, like, in a sense, like, you know. I think you get what I'm saying anyway. Thanks.
Beautiful, beautiful. All righty. Emery's got his hand up, and then I volunteer to screen share the document, and we can go through it. Go for it, Emery.
Okay, just to touch base again on what I was saying, to be a little bit more clear, is what I'm saying is that feeding people, you know, and bringing them food, delivering food to their doorstep, practically, right? I would imagine that is the big story. That in itself, standalone, is a huge story, you know, and which would warrant immediate press conference right then and there. Is it, you know, imagine, you know, like the ramifications of that story getting out. You know what I mean? Even if, like I was saying, it's just a street or a block or whatever, you know, that the idea of that has a tremendous big impact, because who are you to be feeding these people? Who are you to be bringing the food to their doorstep? That's gonna merit an immediate huge media. They're gonna fall on that immediately and be prepared for that big press conference, you know, and dish out the story, to dish out the plan, the soup, you know. You're gonna bring the soup to the table at that point, at that moment when it's revealed, right? I mean, I'm all for the press conference. I don't want to belittle the press conference, but in my view and the way I kind of feel it is that just the fact that you're starting to feed people in itself is a tremendous story. It's a huge story. Nobody's doing it, you know? And we'll do it. We can do it as best as we can with as much publicity, you know, people who, you know, celebrity or whatever, you know, the fact is that it's getting done. And then you're going to have people wanting to participate. I think, the proof will be in the pudding. It's right there. You're confronted with it. It's in your face, So I don't know. I see your point, Jamin, but you see mine?
I do, and let me articulate it back to you, and you let me know if I'm missing anything, okay? So what I'm hearing is that the very fact of feeding people at the scale that we're talking about is going to be so newsworthy that we don't even have to freaking organize a press conference because the press will come to us, right? So if I've understood that hypothesis correctly, let me just talk about scenario A and scenario B. Scenario A is we organize a press conference, we do the press conference, and in a very orderly fashion, at the end of the press conference, 2 hours after we started, we all walk downstairs, and with cameras rolling, there's 20 trucks there, and then we go deliver the food with cameras rolling, right? Scenario B, we organize the 20 trucks and all that. That part's the same, but we don't do a press conference. We don't organize it. We don't plan it. We don't ask the media to show up. We don't do any of that. We just go out and deliver the food and wait for the press conference to arrive. The only problem I have, the big problem I have with scenario B is that by the time the media hears about it, right, their opportunity to capture on film those 20 trucks leaving the depot, that's a singular moment, right? That's the moment when the bomb blows up. The mushroom cloud isn't even fully formed yet, but that's the moment of the initial blast, right? So that's the initial blast. And I posit that that is our singular moment to blast into the mind of the whole world. And if we have the media there with cameras rolling, we capture that moment. And if we don't have the media there with cameras rolling, sadly and tragically for all of humanity, and dare I say for all of life on Earth, that moment will have been lost. So for me, my vote is scenario A, not scenario B. I want to be super clear about that. I do get where you're coming from, but back to you, Emery. I want to make sure I really captured what you were saying.
Yeah, well, how about a double blast? We're not limited to a single barrel. It could be a double barrel job, So you could set up the press conference in conjunction with what you're set out to do. You know what I'm saying? It could be done at the same time, in tandem, right? I mean, there's going to be so much media, like there probably won't even be just one press conference, but it's going to be a series of press conferences. Everybody's going to want to have their story about it, There'll be media from one point and media from another point. You're not at one point, somewhere down the line, you're not going to be able to keep up with all the press conferences that are going to be scheduled. You know what I'm saying? I could be wrong. You've got the experience here. I'm not the one with all the experience in press conferences, but just the feeling I have.
Yeah, here, let me screen share something, because look, the reality is there will be build up to it. It won't just be that singular event and nothing happened in the days preceding. In fact, the way that I got the press to come, that I got everyone to know about the press conference with me and President Vicente Fox. See, it wasn't automatic, right? There are ways that people find out about stuff. So let me show you by screen sharing exactly how we did it. So this is an article published in the Seattle Times 2 days before. Oh, whoops, sorry, I gotta share it again. This is an article published in the Seattle Times 2 days before the actual press conference. I'll just read it out loud. Seattle Times, former Microsoft manager has big ideas about marketing retail pot. Former Microsoft manager Jamen Shively wants to create the first national brand of retail marijuana to open pot trade with Mexico Shively plans to announce that and more in a Thursday news conference he says will feature Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico. Let's go big or go home, Shively said. We're going to mint more millionaires than Microsoft with this business. He's acquiring medical marijuana dispensaries. I don't know why it keeps stopping the screen sharing, but let me do it again. I think the NSA has determined that, okay, here goes. He is acquiring medical marijuana dispensaries in Washington and Colorado, he said, and plans to become the leader in both the medical and adult recreational pot markets. He sees the marijuana market as the only one of its size in which there does not exist a single established brand. He and Fox plan to announce a proposal for regulating the trade of marijuana between the two countries, he said. Some details of the trade agreement remain to be worked out, such as how to get around international rules forbidding illegal pot, Shively admitted. I don't know exactly how that would be done, but I know it's been done in other industries, he said. Allison Holcomb, primary author of the state's legal marijuana law, said Shively faces a huge obstacle in the federal government's prohibition of marijuana. Having a national chain of marijuana-based companies is not only explicitly counter to the existing prohibition, but also counter to the government's expressed concern about business growing too large, said Holcomb, drug policy director for the ACLU of Washington. But Shively, 45, likened the federal prohibition to the Berlin Wall and said it's crumbling with fewer defenders every day. He also said he's created a way to shield investors from federal regulators at the Security and Exchange Commission. And he contends a venture this size is too big to operate recklessly and take risks, such as diverting legal pot to black markets, that the federal government is most concerned about. What we're all about is making it extremely professional and having the highest quality and efficiencies, he said. What if the feds were to come after him? Shively paraphrased Obi-Wan Kenobi. He said, Darth, if you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. If she were Shively's attorney, Holcomb said, she'd advise him to read the so-called Cole Memorandum from the U.S. Department of Justice. It explicitly mentioned a concern with operations involving thousands of plants and millions of dollars, and is evidence of the federal concern with big pot business. Shively, though, seems undeterred. He has become almost evangelical about pot and its benefits, particularly for medical patients, such as his father, who has prostate cancer. I've just fallen in love with the plant, he said, especially in the medical realm. I've gone from entrepreneur to advocate to activist, seriously. Shively worked at Microsoft for 6 years, he said, and had the title of corporate strategy manager. He's been smoking pot for a year and a half. Anyway, that's the Seattle Times, the biggest newspaper in the northwest of the country. And you see all the zingers that are in that article? Didn't that just like, oh, he didn't really say that. So that just blasted its way into the media, among other people. And then all the media showed up, including Mexican media, Canadian media, mostly American. But I mean, the room was packed. And I've shared excerpts from the press conference before. I think all of you have probably seen it, so I won't share again. But I mean, it just exploded. Go for it, Melissa.
So I'm going to say something. It might sound kind of negative, but it's not intended to be negative. It's just I'm seeing a little bit of a difference. So you have a lot of great experience with these press releases and how to deal with the marketing of an idea and make it successful. A lot of something being successful has to do with timing. And so you slipped in on the front of a wave that was happening already. And there was already a lot of talk about legalization or not legalization of marijuana at the time. And you happened to line up an all-star crew, President Fox, et cetera, and rode the wave into the shore. Feeding Brooklyn is not topical. Feeding people around the world, there are groups like, I don't know, Habitat for Humanities, Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. You know, there are these philanthropic groups that are out there doing cool work, Greenpeace, I don't know, et cetera, that we know about, but they tend to be, you know, I don't know if small scale, or insular, that's the word I'm looking for. But feeding people in the face of COVID is not topical. You know, I mean, not yet anyway, because people aren't rioting in the streets for food, et cetera, not yet. So I'm just wondering, like, how do we address that? You know, like, I think we have to just be mindful that we are creating a movement, if I could say it like that, not riding the wave of an existing movement necessarily at the moment. So I just wanted to open that up for conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. I think we are riding a huge wave here because the wave is called Corona and its, Dos Equis and its solutions, right? And the biggest, most powerful solution that's ever happened on the planet to address the virus is the first solution that happened, which happened in China. Everybody stay home, we'll bring you the food. Everybody stay home, we'll bring you the food. So the headline could be as simple as this: Brooklyn copies China, right? And implements the Chinese solution of feeding everyone and delivering the food to their home so they can stay home, and we stop the spread of the virus already. Bam, there's your topical story, right? Chinese solution exported to the United States and implemented in Brooklyn. Bam. I mean, what could be more topical than that? Everyone wants a solution to this darn thing, right? Anyway, I promised to share the words. If anyone has more comments, just jump in. I'd like to share what we've written up here. But yeah, this would be such a story. I think we've got that pretty clearly distinguished. This is a huge story. Feeding Brooklyn and starting in Brooklyn. You got to start somewhere. And, you know, if they ask why you're starting in Brooklyn, there are many reasons, but one of the reasons is New York City is the news capital of the world. We need to spread the message far and wide and get into dialogue with the rest of the world and the rest of the world's communities, right? So we form a network of communities who are all doing this. So it really is a worldwide story. It just has to start somewhere. So I think the story could not be more topical. I think it's going to be the #1 story in the world if we play our cards right. And that's why we're meeting here today, so we can play our cards right, get it right. All right. And Melissa, if you have more to say about that, please just jump in. I'm going to do, I've got this in Word. So I'm going to get this up on the screen. Okay. And also, just like with the cannabis industry, there was all kinds of stuff happening in the cannabis industry before President Vicente Fox and I showed up, right? It's just that when we showed up, we knew how to throw the biggest press conference. And we gave the media a giant target to focus on, right? And a hell of a story. And that became the story. Simple as that. That's exactly what's going to happen here. We're not the first people to feed hungry people, right? We're just going to throw the biggest, most incredible press conference that will ricochet around New York and then around the world. Simple as that. All right, without further ado, I'm going to screen share the Word document. Just jump in if you have something to say, rather than hold up your hand, because it's too much for me to try to both manage the queue of who's trying to say what and manage the document. So just jump in, just unmute yourself and speak if you have something to say. Please don't wait for an invitation from me or from anyone, okay? All right. So this is what I sent out last night. I'm just going to start reading and editing. If you have something to say, just say it and I'll edit it, okay? Context and introduction. Consider that if we are able to make it through this bottleneck that we're in right now, Mother Earth, humanity, etc., all of life on Earth, it will be because we implemented the right combination of solutions in time. That in turn is predicated on our having generated the ability to co-create, prioritize, and implement this very combination of solutions also in time. Now, with so much dysfunctionality among humanity today, it is perhaps difficult to imagine humanity developing the aforementioned crucial capability in time. Herein, we posit a pathway across which humanity can develop this crucial capability. This pathway is being developed by a few dozen of us, and prior to that, it was being developed by a few of us. And our intention is to grow our numbers into the hundreds, then thousands, and so on, up into the tens of millions in the coming months. Please consider joining us. So, what is the crucial capability and what is the pathway to get there? The crucial capability we need to survive is defined as the ability to co-create, prioritize, and implement the right combination of solutions in time to save life on Earth. And that crucial capability is one that we currently do not possess. We must develop it. To develop it, we propose a specific pathway. The pathway consists of the community of communities we are in the process of convening. We're doing it right now, right? We've got Ireland with Canada, with, United States, with England. Anyway, so this community of communities we're in the process of convening, focusing intensively on two things in parallel. The first is the conversation, and the second is hyper solutions, which come out of the conversation. The conversation, and please pause me if you have any questions, comments, anything, okay? The conversation is defined as a serious and holistic confrontation of the following existential and urgent question, with a view to co-creating the optimal hyper solution as the ultimate answer to the same. How do we save life on Earth? Hyper solutions. A hyper solution is defined as a complete set of solutions, mega solutions, strategies, mega strategies, stories, and other elements of what could be described in layman's terms as the complete total solution to saving life on Earth. Rather than try to further define hyper solution, we instead point you to read the section below entitled Operation Stone Soup, which is the name of the best hyper solution we have heard of to date. I neglected to mention that we came up with it. Once you grasp the entirety of that example, you will have a much more firm grasp of the concept of a hyper solution generally. All right, so we'll get to Operation Stone Soup in a minute. First, yeah, James, go.
I would just go back there to where you said, just there, what's it? Once you grasp the entire example of that, you will see how much is. Oh yeah, the best hyper solution we have heard of to date. I'd say you should say one of the best hyper solutions, because we're working on a number of things, so it's not the best. You know what I mean? It's one of the best hyper solutions.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but let me just clarify exactly what I mean by Operation Stone Soup. Operation Stone Soup is not just about feeding people, and then other solutions, can pick up the baton and carry it from there. No. Operation Stone Soup is literally the whole solution for saving life on Earth. It starts with feeding everyone, and in turn, that project starts in Brooklyn. But even after we fed everyone the whole world, right? Yeah, we'll definitely celebrate. But then when we get up the next morning with a hangover or whatever we got, we proceed to the next items on the checklist for Operation Stone Soup. And the very next big one on the checklist after ending hunger is SRM, cooling the planet, with solar radiation management. And I detail this further below. So I'll let me continue reading through it, and then we'll, I see your thumbs up, so thanks for that. Let's see. Okay, so back to sharing. All right, okay. So first, a quick word on the community of communities, and then we'll jump right into the hyper solution called Operation Stone Soup. The community of communities. By community of communities, we refer to an emergent agglomeration of communities, each of which has been grappling with, or is willing to grapple with, if now for the first time, the fundamental question, which is the basis for the conversation, which is, how do we save life on Earth? Operation Stone Soup. Operation Stone Soup is a hyper solution. It is also the best hyper solution we've seen to date. In a nutshell, there are three main axes to the OSS hyper solution. I'm just going to say three main initial axes, because it'll grow in dimensionality over time. Three main initial axes to the OSS hyper solution, all of which must be co-developed in parallel and holistically. The first axis, feeding everyone starting in Brooklyn. The second axis, manifesting collective superintelligence and applying it intensively to the other two axes. The third axis, cooling the planet by deploying planetary scale SRM, such as the mirror reflection solution pioneered by Dr. Yetow and colleagues at Harvard. In addition to those three main axes, OSS also includes a mega strategy, which weaves through those three axes and can best be encapsulated by looking at it through the lens of the press conference, which we discuss in more detail in a separate section below. For purposes of this section, however, suffice it to say that the press conference is the moment in which we communicate to the world the existence and meaning of OSS, and the fact that we are commencing operations today, the day of the press conference, right here in Brooklyn, New York, the location of the press conference. And at the press conference, we introduce each of the above summarized axes of OSS, and we discuss the mega strategy, which is an integral part of OSS. Melvin, brother, I see that you unmuted. Did you have something to say, bro?
Yeah. I have to leave in a few minutes. I've been doing things, but I've been tuning in as much as I can. And I really appreciate the initiative that you've taken on this, and it's a lot of hard work, and I'm always just in awe at the ability of people like yourself and Jackie to elucidate your ideas, and Jamen and everybody, how you can elucidate your ideas. And I struggle just to say a paragraph, it's just amazing to me. I just want to share that when you started out, I really like what you have. Language is so important and very powerful. Language is so important and very powerful. One of the things you said that this is a pathway. I don't know what your word, this is a pathway that, I don't know, but here's what I'm suggesting. This is one of the pathways that many are on in different parts, in different communities, in different parts of the world. Because what we're talking about, we're not the only one talking about it. So this is one of the many pathways, so it don't sound elitist. This is the only pathway. This is one of the many pathways that people in communities across the world, and we're all talking about, and we're talking about coming together. Okay, that's one of the points I want to make. And then the other thing, we're talking about a complete solution. So, and I really like, we talked about Shelley's stuff, and I think it's so important in the language. And what she talked about is whole system health and healing. And this is what you're talking about. So I think it's very important that we start talking about systems thinking without saying system, because you are what you do. I'm just not finding out about your background. You are a system thinker. And nature and to solve any solution that we have to start it for me, because I'm just now getting introduced to system thinking and what reductionism is about and how detrimental it is to humanity and destroying this world. I think it's important part of our narrative that we start using the word systems thinking. You know, to put that out there, to start changing this here narrative, and particularly whole system thinking, whole health system, because this is what we talk about, whole system health, healing, whole system health and healing. We talk about whole system. So putting that narrative out there, what we talk, and I think that resonates with everybody when we say whole system health and healing. So, and I like, you know, like you said, hyper solution, which is the thing. I think the narrative, whole system health and healing, it sounds, for me, it resonates really stronger for me, and with me, whole system health and healing. And you know,
I think
that's,
you could,
you know, so
I think you could, sorry, Melvin, I think you could throw in the word future there, whole future systems, system thinking and healing. I think you could add the word future, whole future systems, because we're thinking about future systems. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we talking about putting this down right now. We talk about a model that we want to talk about. When we talk about, for me, when I talk to people and they want to know where I'm coming from, I say, I'm talking about a whole system, health and healing. So we're talking about how we can behave right now in the present to bring about the future that we want. You know, having this narrative and we're moving away from this reductionist thinking that you could just go and plant one crop, or you could just go do one thing and it's going to change everything. We have to think about, I don't know your background, but Jamen, Sailesh, and I learned, you know, they're system thinkers. All the scientists, any true scientist, any true doctor, social person, if you're really doing it right, you have to look at it from a systems perspective, within a systems framework. Because when you look at things from a system framework, you come to different conclusions about things, and you come to different solutions about everything when you start looking at it from a systems model, because you're looking at all the parts and how they interact together as a whole and not just one part of it. So I think, yeah, I guess I'm being very personal, because it has helped me so much to understand the challenges that we face and also to see solutions when you see them from a system perspective and using that language all the time. When we're looking for a system approach, not we just want to change things. No, we want a system approach. And then go to, what do that system approach mean? That don't mean that Bill Gates got the answer. That don't mean that Fauci got the answer. That don't mean that the CDC got. We're talking about a system approach, how it all affects, how even the grasshoppers and the bees and the fish and the little children and people in Kenya and Nigeria and the people in the Sudan and everywhere, how they're part of this system thinking, system model. And it's also about our interconnection and interdependency on one another and in the environment for our survival as a species on this earth. When we talk about system, we talking about the ocean, we talking about the forest, we talking about our drinking water. So, you know, I'm suggesting that as we're moving forward, you know, we consciously and deliberately talk about whole system health and healing. You know, just as easy as we say we want to change things, we want to fix things, whole system. And this is the thing that I'm trying to make part of my natural vocabulary when I talk to people, whole systems health and healing. It's changing the story, it's changing the narrative. And here again is where we become more powerful. When you get up and talk about whole system health and healing, you're just not talking about we need to change things. We got to make things better. Okay, that's cute. but we're talking about the whole damn system, the whole kit and caboodle. And then when you talk about whole system, you know that you can intervene. Smiley know this, Jamie know this very well. With a system approach, there are certain parts of it, you can intervene in that one point and change the whole damn thing. And that's what we talk about with Brooklyn. From a systems model, maybe we could intervene right here and blow this whole thing out right at this here place in this right point here. And when we're looking at maybe this might be, and another thing I wanted to say here, and I like this here, this came to me early. Brooklyn feeding Brooklyn. Not Brooklyn, but Brooklyn feeding Brooklyn. I don't know. For me, that resonates. Brooklyn feeding Brooklyn. So that's everybody, Brooklyn feeding Brooklyn, you know. And you know, I like that. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but Brooklyn feeding Brooklyn. You know, it's really, really on the ground. So that's what I wanted to put out there. And Operation Stone Soup is a whole system health and healing approach. That's what we're talking about, a whole system health and healing approach. We're not just talking about giving somebody a bag of potatoes. We're not just talking about bringing them some groceries one time. No, we're talking about the whole king caboodle. And I think for, you know, when we collaborate with other like-minded folks, when we use that language, whole system health and healing, that's what we're talking about. You know, that can wrap around their mind and say, okay, we got to get on this here side, because we can't just be talking about taking care of this little garden in this community, or we doing our little self. You're isolated then when we talk about, so we're talking about a whole system health and healing approach. And it really break down barriers and bring us together. And as we all committed to our we all aware of and really believe that we're interconnected to one another. When we use this language, whole system health and healing, that brings it right home that we all in this here thing together. So folks, I got to get out here and go and try to make some connections so I can pay my mortgage.
Make those whole system connections, brother.
I do mention I got to. Yeah, but I'll be back when I come back. I'll tune in again.
You see why I love this man and why we work together and why I know we're gonna change the world? Isn't he amazing?
Jackie, we got to hook up, sister.
Yes.
No, we got to hook our eyeball to eyeball. Now, we ain't 30 minutes away from each other. So we got to hook up eyeball to eyeball, okay? Oh, Jackie, you got to get to the garden. I'm just glad when you move over here, you could come to the garden, Jackie. Golly, I was there today, and it is incredible, the people there. It's truly like the United Nations. I kid you not. People from India, Pakistan, Mexico, Colombia, all of Africans, just like the United Nations. And most of them are women folk. Probably 95 are women folk. Okay, I'm out of here, folks. Carry on.
Thanks, Melvin, brother. We'll see you soon. Come back anytime. We'll be here till 7 o'clock. So come back anytime.
Okay, all right.
All right, we'll see you soon. Good luck with everything.
Oh.
All righty. Beautiful. I see lots of thumbs ups. Lots of support for what Melvin brother just shared, which is super cool. You know, what I'm about to read in the document goes more into the whole big picture. So let's get into that. Here goes. All right. So the press conference. The following is a very rough draft of what might be spoken at the press conference this summer. We are setting in motion a decentralized and yet at the same time unified planetary movement, punctuated by humanity coming together in a vast network of conversations, centered around the conversation and the myriad hyper solutions coming out of the conversation, such as the present Operation Stone Soup. This movement starts right here in Brooklyn, where it will be known worldwide as the movement which fed all of Brooklyn, or as Melvin would say, Brooklyn feeding Brooklyn. And then went on from there to feed the entire world ongoingly, without exception. This is Brooklyn feeding the world, right? Why? Feeding it with its example, how to do it. And it's not that everyone's going to copy Brooklyn to the detail, but they'll use it as a model, right? To build on, you know. Operation Stone Soup and the myriad other names by which it will become known, because it is centered around that lofty and heretofore elusive goal of ensuring that everyone in the world has plenty of nutritious food to eat. This idea will become massively popular. People will want to get involved. People will want to work with others. Combine these facts with the recent Zoom boom, and you have all of the makings for a vast network of video conference heavy, also Reddit heavy, conversations centered around OSS. This network of conversations, in turn, provides the basis for the evolution of collective superintelligence, in turn covered in its own section below. I haven't gotten to that section, but you all know collective intelligence, so we're good to go. Which will absolutely blow everyone's mind. Collective superintelligence will, in that it completely leapfrogs the evolution of some form of strong AI, strong artificial intelligence, in being a much stronger form of absolute intelligence than even strong AI. So from computer scientists to Mother Teresa, everyone's going to be going crazy over this story of collective superintelligence powering the end of hunger. This CSI, this collective superintelligence, initially formed around the unifying objective of ensuring everyone has plenty to eat, will ultimately be used to address myriad objectives in parallel. These will include cooling our planet with gargantuan planetary scale implementations of SRM, solar radiation management. This is the single most urgent thing that we have to do as regards saving life on Earth generally. Well, why then, if that's the most urgent thing, are we starting right here in Brooklyn feeding everyone? Why aren't we starting in the Arctic deploying SRM solutions as our very first step? The answer is simple. Planetary scale, and this gets to the whole system stuff that Brother Melvin was talking about. The answer is simple. Planetary scale SRM, like planetary scale anything, will require planetary scale cooperation among humanity. Therefore, we are starting with both the simplest and the most powerful way of uniting humanity, which is around food security. We are uniting humanity around feeding everyone. And we are starting in the closest thing that there is to a capital city to the world, which is New York City. New York is also the news media capital of the world. Starting right here in Brooklyn, it is impossible to ignore. And we are committing right here, right now, to ensure from this day forward that everyone who wants abundant, nutritious food here in Brooklyn will have it 3 meals a day, every day from now into eternity. And we invite the media to come right back here, right back to this very location where we are standing every morning, 7 days a week, to check in with us and ask, so how is it going feeding everyone in Brooklyn? And no matter what the answer, it is news. Likewise, it will be news when the first multi-billionaire contributes a $1 billion check to our mission of feeding everyone in Brooklyn. So here we stand today, knocking over the first domino of many. Again, building off what Melvin said, which we have laid out as the mega strategy embedded within OSS. And in a nutshell, that mega strategy goes as follows. Feed everyone. In the process, go collectively super intelligent. and then use our collective superintelligence to cool our planet in time. And if we go up one level higher, we get to the conversation, which generated the hyper strategy of OSS itself, and which is generating myriad other hyper strategies as well. We believe that the world should be involved in the conversation. And then I've got a short section on what do we mean by saving life on Earth. It's really just the obvious of saving all of life on Earth. And anyway, but just to make that clear. Anyway, that's what I drafted up yesterday, and happy to put that out on a Google document so that folks can edit it, we can evolve it, etc. But any immediate reactions beyond Melvin's thoughts from a few minutes ago? Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Go ahead, Jackie.
I'm at a loss for words, honestly. I used to tell you about how it made me feel, and it feels right. It feels lived. All these visions came to my mind. As you were describing it, I could see it. I could feel the gratitude. I could feel the relief. I could feel the love. Even right now, my chest is radiating. It just feels right.
Yeah, it sounds really fucking well. Like it's well thought out, and it sounds just right. That's the best way you could put it. All right, Jackie. I do think you should incorporate Melvin's suggestion with Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn, because it shows that because what we're showing is that communities can be independent of themselves. You know what I mean? That they're looking after each other through community. You know what I mean? By showing them that they can reach out to a network of communities to look out for each other in the whatever may be thrown at us in the future, given the circumstances we're in.
You know, I also feel like this is what we're doing here is like a family reunion. You know, we're coming together once a week, twice a week, and make these discussions, and then we all go back to our respective homes and we implement these solutions. And so to piggyback on what James is saying, it just feels right that I feel like we're all coming together as like this family reunion and experiencing this healing and this solution. And then we all go back, and that's what we want to do with the community of communities, where we are all invited, where representatives of our different families come together. And then we learn from one another, and we contribute, and we exchange medicine, and then we all go back to our homes. And then we implement this healing in our homes. And that's what each community is. It's a home. And then we can support one another and still be one giant family. And always be there, just like children. When we teach them and we release them, they can always come home and get that support. They can always come back. And I think that's what we want to offer. You're part of the whole, but we honor and we respect that you each have your own individual families and you can do this. And we're always here to support you. Let us know. We'll all come back together, and then we trust and we have such faith in you as a community to bring that healing and spread it amongst all of yourselves. I think that's such a powerful message.
Beautiful, Jackie. Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, I agree there, Jackie, 100%. And that's why I think it's, as I said earlier as well, I think it's something we need to do, is to start making the connections now. Like, and I feel that's the urgency. We need to start making the connections with the communities. And well, so again, no, I'm going to say there, Jamin, I'm not sure if you got the email I sent you there yesterday or the day before. I can't even think which day it was. But if you could just browse over that, and once I know that you're happy with that as a description of the Facebook page, I'll publish the page then, because I want I want to get on with publishing it to see what kind of a response it gets. But I think just your clarification on if it's okay, the wording is okay about it being, you know, an idea of the block party and the collective intelligence block party. Like, so once you just said like that's grand, or if there's anything I missed on it or anything else, I'll just publish it then and see what response it gets. Because I think the idea now is like we're starting to get things, you know, they're gelling like, and they're coming together now. Like, so we need more people on board to, you know, for it to grow. Obviously, we need people like, so whatever can be done, and I just think that's just another way of, you know, reaching out to people. So if you can do that anyway, I'll get on with it and publish it straight away then. Yes.
Beautiful, James. Beautiful. And may I share the draft with the rest of the email list, which is probably about 225 people or so?
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Okay.
I mean, it's so like, because it is an open Facebook page. I'm hoping for us to just spread globally, so everybody. I'm like, if you're all happy with it as a description and you know being connected, it connects right. If you think or you have any suggestions, best better again. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that you all, like, hopefully all of you then, like, if you could even post something from your own communities about a local community, helping another community, anything from a community or a charitable organization in your own community, or somebody advertising for, looking for some funds for something, and just put these up on this, just post your posts on the page. And when they publish it, then it's not just me and Stephanie with a lot of posts on it, a lot of random posts, just basically from me and Stephanie at the moment. I need input now from other communities around the world, so that when I publish it, then it will have an impact straight away. Because people are going to look at it and go, "What's this? Okay, hey, all right, there's people from all over the world here. Like, what's this about?" You know what I mean? It's another way of drawing people in. So the sooner I get it published, the better. But yeah, definitely. Anyone who wants to, I'll just friend me on Facebook, and I'll send you the link for the Facebook page, because it's not published yet. Like, so if you join the page, then you can post anything you want on it. You see what it's about straight away. Thanks.
James, that's it's Melissa here. I hope that's okay. I just jumped in, Jamin and all. I love what you're saying, and I think it would be great, like, if we could get a draft to model off of. That would be super helpful. For the food part, I just want to tell you all that I received a grant yesterday, to run online art classes for refugee children in Seattle area. This is like a major thing, like super major. So I think like anything like that we can post along with feeding people, uplifting people's spirits, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, Jamin and we were talking about doing like a social media blast, you know, like if we all could have a post or several posts that we just blast out the same week, all of us, and just really stir up news and attention. I love this idea, James. I second it fully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And congratulations. That's great news there for you. Fantastic altogether. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Even like that. No, I'm not sure if we're friends on Facebook either way. Like, just, you know where I am, and just search my name and friend me there, and I'll send you the invites or the links to it. And post, as I said, that's a perfect post to put up now. Like, it's all about community. It's all about reaching out and connecting and helping each other. Like, so I think you'll get the idea anyway when you see it. Thanks.
Yeah, this is super awesome. I'm so grateful, James, and I think that your Ireland-based community is, I think, going to work wonders, especially since, I mean, there are a number of Irish American billionaires in New York whose great-grandparents came over hungry on a ship from Ireland where people were dying from disease. The Irish held together then, and they're holding together now. Dude, James, as soon as one of those Irish-American billionaires in Manhattan reads your post about Ireland loves Brooklyn feeds Brooklyn, once they start crying, it's over. It's over. Over.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in here again because my mother called me yesterday and said, hey, have you seen the news? Ireland are feeding First Nations people in America to thank them for the tribe, I don't remember which tribe it is, feeding the Irish during the potato famine. So it's definitely headline news now.
And
yeah, that's the Choctaw and Hopi nations and the Navajo and the Irish have been donating to the cause. They reached over 3 million last about a week ago. The Navajo and Hopi nations reached about 3 million in donations. Thank you, they said, greatly to the unsurprising the over nearly 1.4 million, I think, by the Irish alone in the space of a couple of weeks. So they were delighted with it. Shocked.
Oh my goodness. No, and Melissa, and listen, what
Sorry,
Melissa's, no problem. You always have the floor, sweetheart.
I just wanted to say something, if I may, Jamen, before you interject. But the Hopi tribe carry the prophecy about this time on Earth where they say that there's going to be a red sky and that we should all go indoors and stay indoors. Well, if you look at coronavirus, it is red. And we are all being asked to stay inside. They believe that if they can maintain the old traditional way, one person or one family, that they will keep the balance of the earth intact. So the fact that Ireland's reaching out to the Hopi is like so incredibly synchronistic. God bless you guys. This is huge.
Well, I also put up another post on the page there now yesterday as well in relation to another matter going on with the Sioux Nations in Dakota, and they're entitled by treaty to to safeguard their own roads and highways going through their villages and everything else, and they've set up their own roadblocks so that they can manage who's going through and what have you, and refuse if they have to anyone coming in, because they have a cordon around their reservation because of the lockdown situation. They're taking the right approach, and because they have a high number of instances, but they're managing to keep it under control now because they've only got 8 emergency beds on the whole reservation, and if it gets out of hand, they're in big trouble. And a state senator or governor is now taking legal actions to force them to take down their roadblocks, and that's against the treaties. And I put up a post just saying that Ireland stands in solidarity with the Sioux Nations and in First Nations people as well. So that's what I'm saying. It's important. Let's get some posts up there from everybody from our different parts of the world, and we'll just get the thing published and see what response we get. I know the Irish will jump on it straight away once I publish it. It'll get shared around. But I'll make it published to everyone on my Facebook page once I get a few of your posts on it. So I'll send out an invite to everyone that I am friends with here now on the block party, and I'll send a few friend requests myself, so I'll just get it going all together. But put up a copy of it there, Jane, in the description, and anyone that wants to add to it or whatever, we could get that done there as well. Not now, but they can have a look at it and get back to it on the block party or something. Cheers, thanks.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. No, and you know what happened here is it's exactly what we predicted a few days ago. Melissa's mother, who's a proud Irish American, read this story about Ireland helping the First Nations people, and she called up. I was there when Melissa received the call. And Patricia, Melissa's mom, hadn't heard anything about what we're doing with you know, this and that. She's just out of the blue. She found out about the story, right, that you had tipped us off to, James, a while back. And now she's all excited. We predicted that the Irish Americans would get excited about this. Did we not? And look at what's happening, right? So, James, what you're going to launch, what Ireland is going to launch, because I know you're going to have a lot of support, okay, is absolutely key to the success of this whole thing. So I say, let's continue to work on the overall story, right? And there's a few other kind of big pieces that we need to get sorted out, and I'd like to talk about that next. Did you raise your hand there? So I just want to make sure I'm not missing you. Anyway,
No, I was just responding to Jack. Yeah.
Okay, so so among the big pieces, let's just take inventory here. Let's go way up, big picture view. What do we got? Okay, we got. It sounds like Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn is starting to resonate. Am I feeling that from everyone? Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn, instead of Brooklyn Eats, Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn. Okay. Well, I just bought a domain name for Brooklyn Eats, but that's okay. I'll get another one for Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn. So, all right. Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn. We've got the supporting Block Party and Solution Club, right? We've got, and now getting back to the topic of, you know, everyone basically goes home to their community, right? Yes, they hear about, you know, things that are happening outside the community and they get connected, right? But in the end, everyone lives in their community. So that was part of the inspiration for the new snack bar, the social network of awesome communities, is it respects each community as a community, where they're at, what they're talking about, you know, and it creates a space for all these different communities to come together around Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn, right? And how cool that the name is Snack Bar, which is a place to eat. The social network of awesome communities, Snack Bar. Whoa, right? And then just imagine that we launched the page Snack Bar, which we've already got the beginnings of a cool logo for, with like a slice of watermelon, and it just looks really cool. We'll get that perfected. But imagine we launch that page, and so just imagine all these things interconnected. Obviously, we got, you know, Radish, Block Party, Solution Club. That's all together. That's just one big thing. Let's just call that the Radish, you know, the Radish thing, right? Then we've got Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn. Then we got Snack Bar, all the communities that are connecting here and helping support that, like the Irish community, right? So, and then we've got Operation Stone Soup itself. That warrants its own website and Facebook page and identity and all that, right? So you got Radish, and our weekly meetings, you've got Snack Bar, and you've got Operation Stone Soup, and you got Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn. Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn and Operation Stone Soup are just kind of like two sides of a coin, because Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn is the start of Operation Stone Soup, and the other side of the coin is everything else, right? So it's really one tight duo, right? OSS and BFB, right, are really one coin. Okay. And likewise, you know, Snack Bar and the whole Radish thing are kind of, you know, pretty tight. So I'm going to just start to put together a map of this all. Okay. Let's see. And so we really have 4 major axes for starters. which really come in two pairs. You got Radish and Snack Bar, which are fundamentally about collective intelligence, right? Coming together, bringing people and communities together and doing the collective intelligence thing, right? Then you got OSS and BFB. BFB is Brooklyn Feeds Brooklyn. OSS is Operation Stone Soup. So you got OSS and BFB. Those are two peas in a pod. And you got Radish and Snack Bar. Those are two peas in a pod. And each of those will have its own website, its own Facebook page, its own community supporting it, right? And we seek to integrate all this together. You know, and I think those four pillars really provide a good framing so that people can say, okay, all right, where are the meetings happening? Well, we're having these meetings on Radish. Okay, let me check those out. Block Party, Solution Club, okay, cool. All right, you know, who is this we anyway? Well, it's a thing called Snack Bar. It's a bunch of awesome communities. Well, what defines awesome? Awesome is that you're joining the movement to feed everyone and heal and save life on Earth. If you're in that game, you're awesome. Welcome. Right? And we'll have a sign up button. People can just sign up, sign up, sign up. So here's what I'm thinking logistically, okay? And actually I'll start a new recording because this recording's been going for over 3 hours and we've been going for almost 4 hours. So if people need a break, just let me know. Let me just stop this recording and then I'll start a new one as to how I think it can all work together logistically. So if there's no objections, I'll stop recording in 3, 2, 1.